Okay.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to the greatest show on earth, Table Read Tuesdays! We have performers like you have never seen before, unless you were here last week or you're here next week. But we're going to introduce them for the greatest showman. So first, we have Vicky.
Hi, I'm Vicki Dykes. I'm from Central Alberta, and I'm an actress. And tonight I will be reading for Charity and a bunch of other characters.
Which charity are you reading for?
Oh.
I'm just kidding, bad dad joke. Okay, we also have Jack Loney.
Hello, my name is Jack Loney. I'm an aspiring actor in a multitude of fields, and tonight I'll be playing a couple small characters, but most notably is the person who plays Hugh Jackman, basically Barnum, the ringmaster.
Ooh, the ringmaster. And next we have Petra Stedman.
Hello, Petra Stedman, aspiring actress and writer, and a kind of generic professional goofball when called upon, which is fun. I will be playing a bunch of roles, including the rather interesting. I don't know. I wasn't expecting Zac Efron, but apparently that's me tonight. So watch me to be, I don't know, seductive and sweet and something later potentially. We'll see.
All right, I love goofballs. But yeah, I think you guys should stop saying aspiring. You guys are actors. You guys do all the other stuff. No longer. But we have Heather Lee Cameron.
Hi, my name is Heather Lee Cameron. I'm from Southern Alberta. And tonight I will be playing Caroline Ann Crowd, Mrs. Stratton, Letty, Chang and Ang, Mrs. Winthrop, woman in audience, protester number 3, and people in audience. And I'm an actor, I'm a writer, and I'm a creative freelancer. Nice to see you.
So many roles to like stretch ability, but it's hard to like give so much attention to them when it's like last minute and you're switching as we're reading. But that's awesome. All right. Last but certainly never least, Angelina Peterson.
Already. Okay. Hi.
Already.
And I'm reading Jenny and Actions and
Right.
act and write and stuff like that. And show up to Table Read Tuesdays sometimes.
For the best show on earth. All right. I'm Jacob Patrick, and I'm reading the ones in my description right there. Mr. Hallett, Tom Thumb, Stratton, Roth, Lord of Leeds, Bullhorn, Protester, a Fireman, and now also Cop and Police. All right, and with that, we shall begin. Share screen. Angelina will read for us.
Thank you. The greatest showman.
Oh no, and then it breaks up a
written
little
by
bit.
Jenny Bicks. Revision.
Can you say that one more
no.
time?
The Greatest Showman on Earth, written by Jenny Bicks. And you can keep scrolling.
All right.
Revisions by Jordan Roberts, Bill, Trooper, something. The Greatest Showman on Earth. Omitted. A strum banjo begins. A bass drum drums beating time. Interior circus tent night.
All right. I think maybe we do that switch we were talking about before as a possibility for Petra and Angelina. If you guys want.
You want to give her a second, see if she comes back in, or is she having issues?
Yeah, we'll give her a second because, oh, there she is. Angelina.
Oh.
Wait, there you go. We lost you for a long period there.
Okay.
So we're thinking of maybe switching out Petra for those roles and you for the other ones.
Oh, and I read so much. Why don't you take over if it's cutting out for me?
So are you guys fully switching?
Go for it. Yeah, I'll just do what I can with Jenny.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll show up.
All right, we'll start over.
Keeping my other roles then, or I'm now confused.
I was thinking we're fully switching what Petra had and what you had, Angelina, and just swap.
Either.
Yeah, up to you two.
I don't get to woo Heather later. That's such a bummer.
Well, it's up to you two.
Just tell me as we go. Just shoot me a chat or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, type that in the chat, Angelina. We can't hear you, so maybe we won't do it that way. But type it in the chat.
The
All right.
Greatest Showman on Earth, written by Jenny Bicks. Revisions by Jordan Roberts, Bill Condon, Jonathan Tropper. Current revisions by M.A.
As we see here, it's a different draft, so this one is actually different than the movie. So we'll see how.
Okay. A strummed banjo begins, a bass drum joins, beating time. Interior circus tent night, absolute darkness. Then a single narrow spotlight goes on, revealing a ringmaster with top hats. To me?
We hear you. I was saying for Angelina, type it in the chat that we can't hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. With top hat, his back to us, alone. With his head bowed, the top hat casts his face in shadow. As the music picks up, he sings in a hushed, dramatic voice. Quick cuts, close-ups of the ringmaster, seen from behind.
Petra, I think Jack knows some of that, so he was going to do some of that.
Oh,
Go ahead.
that's okay. So I guess I'll do one line and then move on to another.
Sure,
Okay,
we'll see
fine.
how far we get.
Okay. Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
Okay. Quick cuts, close shots of the ringmaster, seen from behind, in fast-passing shots. The iconic top hat, the cane, red swallowtail coat, shiny black boots, sawdust.
You've been searching in the dark, your sweat soaking through the floor.
The ringmaster from behind looks upward. Another spotlight goes on. Way up high in the darkness, a beautiful African-American aerialist, Ann Wheeler, is spinning on a rope.
And buried in your bones there's an ache that you can't ignore, taking your breath, stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind.
The ringmaster from, oh sorry, I already did that. The ringmaster looks the other way. A new spotlight hits a beautiful tightrope walker way up high, seemingly walking on air through the vast darkness.
Don't fight it, it's coming for you, running at you. It's only this moment, don't care what comes after. Your fever dream, can't you see, getting closer. Don't surrender, cause you feel the feeling taking over.
A cannon fires, sending a human cannonball flying through the darkness, spotlight following till he lands in a netting.
It's fire, it's freedom, it's flooding open.
The ringmaster turns into the light. It is P.T. Barnum, handsome, confident, exuberant, at the height of his powers, a showman's smile, a scoundrel's wink.
It's the bleacher in the pulpit and your black compulsion. There's something breaking at the brick of every wall that's holding all that you know. So tell me, do you wanna go? Where it's covered in all the colored lights, where the runaways are running the night. Impossible comes true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show.
He turns left. Roving spotlights find glimpses of daredevil horse riders circling a circus ring doing amazing stunts.
We'll light it up, we won't come down, and the sun won't stop us now.
He turns right. Spotlights catch acrobats in a circus ring doing an insane teeterboard act. Bodies fly through the air.
Watching it come through, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show.
As the song escalates, two fire breathers step up and blow huge columns of fire in the air over Barnum's head. Suddenly, all the footlights go on, revealing a full-throttle three-ring circus in full motion around Barnum. Elephants doing handstands, lion tamers cracking whips, jugglers tossing rings across the room, horses dancing on two hooves. Barnum strides through it all, grinning, happy, and singing his heart out, welcoming us to his world, the Big Top.
Colossal we come, these renegades in the ring, where the lost get found and we crown them the circus kings.
His song is joined by a group of oddities whom we will get to know in due time, both in their strangeness and high-spirited humanity. The gentle O'Clancy, the Irish giant, the tallest man in the world, Letty, the bearded lady, Chang and Eng, the legendary Siamese twins. One by one, they join in, walking with Barnum.
I'm not sure. Should I sing the next part or not, or just skip on ahead?
It's up to you.
You are also the oddity, so you can sing it if you'd like, or skip ahead.
Right, my bad. Don't fight it, it's coming for you, running at you. It's only this moment, don't care what comes after. It's blinding and outshining everything that you know. Just surrender, cause you're coming and you wanna go.
We become aware of a crowd outside the three rings.
Ladies and gentlemen, cads and crooks, children of all ages, welcome to another world, where beauty walks with danger, where the impossible is a commonplace, and where nothing is quite what you expect.
Barnum concludes by throwing his head back, arms wide.
Welcome to the greatest show on earth!
The crowd in the dim light outside the rings goes wild. Now all the performers join in singing.
Where it's covered in all the colored lights, where the runaways are running the night, impossible comes true, intoxicating you. This is the greatest show. We light it up, we won't come down, and the sun won't stop us now. Watching it come through, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show.
As the performers sing, Barnum takes in children's faces in the crowd, their awe, their wonder, their delight. Then Barnum turns to watch the show with them. Sound fades as Barnum, in a brief moment, sings to himself about the long road it took to get here. In counterpoint to the performers' exuberant singing, Barnum's words are reflective and wistful.
Okay, I might have gone too far on the song, so maybe...
It's okay.
I don't know.
Barnum is yanked out of his reverie by the performers. Jolted back to reality, he joins their spirited song again.
It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. And it's here right in front of you. This is where you wanna be.
As the song reaches a climax, abruptly all the lights go out, leaving Barnum alone again in the spotlight.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we offer you a story, a parable, if you will, of a man caught between the real world and the world of his dreams. A world where anything is possible, if you only believe.
As the camera circles him, Barnum sings his last few lines.
It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. And it's here right in front of you.
As the song ends, we push into a close-up of Barnum silhouetted against the blinding lights and match cut to exterior waterfront estate day. Silence, a close-up of young Barnum, age 10, silhouetted against the sun. Someone else is with him, but hard to see. We don't know where we are. Young Barnum speaks quietly.
All you have to do is jump.
I'm scared.
That's what makes it fun.
Wider, young Barnum and young Charity, also 10, stand on the limb of a giant old tree that reaches out over the water. She wears a white party dress. He is in scuffed work clothes. It's a 20-foot drop to the water. No small feat.
I shouldn't be doing this.
That's what also makes it fun.
You always make me do crazy things.
It feels like you're flying for 1 second. You feel free.
She looks down a moment, then pulls back.
I can't do it.
Well, of course you can. You just have to take that first step.
She half smiles, still scared, nods bravely. Let's do it.
Ready? 1, 2, 3!
They jump and fall side by side. Splash! They surface. She's laughing, delighted. She just became a braver person.
Let's do that again, and again, and again, and again.
He grins, dazzled by her delight. They swim to the shore and climb steps up onto a lawn, laughing, high-spirited.
I saw a sea nymph underwater.
You did not.
She was wearing a white dress.
She laughs. He drinks in her laughter. Behind them, we see the grounds of a massive old money Connecticut estate.
Charity!
They turn. Mr. Hallett, patrician and stern, steps forward, glaring balefully. Behind him, a groundskeeper with a rake, Philo Barnum, age 40s, is in work clothes, looks on worriedly. Charity quickly bows her head, becoming docile, obedient.
Is this how we have taught you to behave? Like a person of no breeding? Come here. Look at your dress. How many times have I told you not to trouble the help?
She walks to her father, not looking at young Barnum.
Oh, it's the boy's fault, sir. I'm sorry. He's a bit touched in the head, you know. Come on, son. There's work to do.
You've done quite enough today, Mr. Barnum. There's that for your troubles.
He hands over a nickel. Philo bows obsequiously.
Oh, thank you, sir. Apologies again.
Mr. Hallett turns, walks back to his estate. Charity follows dutifully. Barnum watches. Then she turns and, behind her father's back, smiles at him. Young Barnum is thunderstruck. This smile, a beacon of joy, will become his North Star. Philo, seeing his son's love-struck gaze, swats his head.
Are you crazy? Oh, let's get home.
Interior, Barnum House, kitchen, Bethel, day. Nothing quaint here. The austere room, it reflects a hard-scrabble Yankee life. The family sits at the table as Barnum's 4 younger siblings, aged 3 to 7, are served thin soup by their mother, Irene. Barnum is telling them stories, and they are giggling and enthralled. Philo listens with an impatient silence.
And when I get to India, when I get to India, I shall ride an elephant and capture a tiger.
And what are you going to do with a tiger?
I'll give my tiger as a gift to Raj, and everyone will want to come and see it. And then Raj will become my best friend, and he'll offer me half his kingdom.
Phineas.
And I shall say, no thank you, sir.
Philo slams his hand on the table. Everyone jumps. Silence.
As of Monday, you'll join me on the farm.
What about his schooling?
A waste of time. His place is in the fields.
But father!
Philo silences him with a sharp look. It hurts to say.
You can dream all you want, son. It won't put food on the table.
Barnum stares. He gets up, leaves the table, and exits. Exterior, beach, sunset. Young Barnum sits on a beach, his father's words echoing in his head. He looks up to see young Charity approaching.
How'd you get out?
I climbed out the window once Father got into his port.
She sits down next to him. She is downcast as well.
Were you scolded?
Were you?
They share a look. They both were. They turn to the sunset, sad and pensive. Then Barnum picks up a piece of driftwood.
Do you know what this is?
She can't help but smile, knowing that a story is coming.
Look carefully. You see? It's a fossil of a mermaid from Atlantis.
She looks. Amazingly, the driftwood has a mermaid-like shape.
It's a priceless treasure.
He gives it to her. She smiles, but is suddenly teary-eyed.
Oh, I'm going to miss you.
He turns to her. What does that mean? She turns to him.
Father is sending me to finishing school.
When will I see you again?
She shakes her head. Never. He is caught off guard.
I don't know what my future will be. Father says I am to be a lady, but it's all so dull when you're not there.
He looks at her. He has one chance to not lose her forever.
I can see my future. And yours too.
Oh, no, you can't.
I can. I'll show you.
Music starts under a simple piano theme, both sad and sweet. Exterior mansion night. Barnum leads Charity up the front walk of a huge neoclassical mansion that has fallen into disrepair.
It's okay. Nobody lives here anymore.
Interior mansion night. It's dark, lit only by the moon. Barnum leads Charity through the rooms. As he sings about a world he envisions, we see trophy animals, oriental antiques, and curiosities.
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me that I'll call my own.
Barnum lights a match, suddenly illuminating a stone lion. Charity gasps and smiles at him with relief. Barnum smiles back, with the joy of showing someone the unexpected. He lights a candle. The shadow of the lion comes to life, roaring. Around the room, shadows flicker with glimpses of tumblers, acrobats, trapeze artists, elephants, and clowns.
Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home.
And then, as if Barnum had willed it to happen, the room is suddenly lit by hundreds of candles. In Barnum's imagination, the shadows unite to show us the vision of what the three-ring circus will become.
They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind.
Charity is transported. They move through the menagerie.
I don't care, so call me crazy. I will live in a world that I design.
They gaze at each other, Charity leaning in for a kiss. Barnum pulls back. He's bold, but not yet that bold. Exterior Barnum House kitchen, Bethel night. Barnum, now 15, sits alone writing a letter with a single lantern on a table. His face is dirty, his clothes rags.
'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
Interior finishing school dormitory at night. Charity, 14 and beautiful, sits at a moonlit window sill and opens the letter. She pulls out a pop-up origami, two faces in profile, a boy and a girl. As she unfolds it, the faces come together as if kissing. She smiles to herself, charmed.
A million dreams are keeping me awake.
Exterior church cemetery, Bethel day. Philo Barnum's funeral in a run-down cemetery. Just the priest and Barnum's mother and four young siblings. Barnum gazes at the family that's dependent on him now, wishing there were some way to take their misery away.
I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see.
Behind him, a figure approaches. He turns. It's Charity, out of place in the humble setting. She meets his eyes, steps up beside Barnum, discreetly holds his hand.
A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world I'm gonna make.
Interior, exterior, Hallett's house, Bethel, Connecticut, day. Music continues under. Barnum strides up the front walk of the Hallett's grand house, scared but determined. He's an adult now, a younger version of the man we first met. As he steps onto the porch, the door is pulled open. Mr. Hallett stands in the doorway, scowling, blocking his way. Barnum takes off his hat, humbly dressed, but respectful.
Mr. Hallett, I know how I look to you, but you have my word. I will take care of your daughter. And one day, I'll buy her a house like this one.
With what? You have no education, no prospects, no common sense.
Barnum is hurt, but not surprised. He sees something over Hallett's shoulder. Mr. Hallett turns to look. Charity, 18, carries a suitcase down the grand staircase to the foyer.
Charity, if you walk out that door now, I'm cutting you off from everything.
Charity summons up her strength and walks past him. She pauses to kiss her distraught mother on the cheek.
Goodbye, Mother.
She steps onto the porch, smiles up at Barnum. He takes her suitcase. Charity slips her arm through his, and they run off. Interior railroad tunnel night, continuous. Barnum, carrying Charity's suitcase, leads her through a dark railway tunnel. Music continues under.
Where are you taking me?
Just a little further.
He comes to a stop in the middle of the tunnel.
Now, what do you see?
Darkness.
I see the future. Our future.
And what does our future hold, Mr. Barnum?
He leans in and kisses her.
Magic.
And just then the train arrives above them, light and steam filling the tunnel with wonder.
However big, however small, let me be part of them all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see.
To the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams are keeping me awake.
Barnum and Charity dance together.
I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
From the magic and sweep of this musical climax, we cut to interior office day. Barnum hunches at a desk, punching buttons into a mechanical Burroughs adding machine, writing the results onto a ledger. Wider, his is one desk in a vast office of accountants, all crammed in tidy rows. A cacophony of adding machines. It's as far from his youthful dreams as he could have imagined. A boss, 60s and well-dressed, walks out and waves his arms. Gradually, everyone stops working. The room goes silent.
Gentlemen, I regret to say you're all dismissed. Company's gone bankrupt.
Bankrupt? What happened?
Typhoon. All our trading ships are at the bottom of the South China Seas. Better luck with your next job, if you find one.
He claps Barnum's shoulder and walks off. Barnum slumps back, gut punched. He frowns, eyes darting, thinking fiercely. Everyone else gets up and begins to filter out of the room. A hubbub of murmurs. Only Barnum remains seated. He sees a pencil holder, a metal can dotted with holes, on his desk. Reaches over, dumps the pencils out, holds it up. Do you mind if I take you? Oh, sorry. That's your line.
Would you mind if I take this home?
Oh, take anything you can carry. It's all junk now.
The boss departs, leaving Barnum alone. He turns and scans the office, mind racing. He frowns, then smiles. Interior Barnum's tenement night. Barnum enters, exhausted from work. He carries the pencil holder and several large files. It's a cramped tenement. Barnum and Charity are now in their 30s. His daughters, Caroline, 7, and Helen, 3, greet him with cries of happiness. Quick cuts. Barnum assembles a gift from scavenged office equipment. Charity and the girls watch as he binds a candle to a spike, lights it, and places the pencil holder over the candle onto the spike. Charity blows out a lantern. Suddenly, the room is only lit by 100 points of light, emitted from holes. Barnum spins the pencil holder, and the points of light spin around the room. The girls are dazzled.
Happy birthday, Caroline.
Oh, what is it?
It's a wishing machine, built by the King of Same, stolen by pirates, lost in a great storm. It's the only one in the world. You tell it all your wishes, and it holds them safe.
Oh, sorry, that's me. My wish is to marry Santa Claus.
That's a good wish.
I wish for a pair of ballet slippers so I can be a ballerina.
Barnum smiles, but he's flat broke. It rips his guts out. Exterior Barnum's tenement apartment, rooftop night later. Music continues as Barnum sits on the ledge, flipping through a pile of bills, many stamped overdue. He sings, wistful.
'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake.
Charity steps out to find Barnum, gazing out at the lighted skyline. She kisses the back of his head and sits beside him. Barnum shakes his head and looks at the bills in his hand.
Ballet slippers. Can't even afford that. I work all day to make rich men richer. And every time I have an idea to do something on my own, I lose our savings.
At least there wasn't much to lose.
She smiles, but he can't return it. She rubs his back.
You see things other people don't. That's what I love about you.
When I think of the life I gave up,
I didn't give it up. You saved me from it.
Finally, he looks at her, quietly admitting the hard truth.
that isn't the life I promised you. I know that.
I have everything I want right here with you.
But what about the house we were going to fill? With magic and wonder?
What do you call those two girls downstairs?
He looks at his wife, finally smiles. She's gotten through. Charity leans against his shoulder. Delicately, he ventures.
Charity, I have another idea.
She turns, intrigued and worried. Now what? Exterior grocery store, Lower East Side, Manhattan, day. Close on, a window sign that reads lottery tickets inside. There is a line out the door, waiting to buy. Barnum, as a barker, tries to really believe his own pitch. There's an urgent sense of trying to save people from a humdrum life. Caroline stands nearby, handing out lottery flyers.
Come on, come on! Step right up! This is the chance to live your dreams! Everyone has an equal shot. All you need is a ticket. Someone's going home rich. Why not you? Why not buy a ticket? Why not buy 10?
Suddenly, a police whistle. A squadron of cops swarms into the store. Customers in line react with catcalls and boos.
Sorry, Barnum. The state of New York will never condone lottery gambling.
A lottery isn't gambling. It's hundreds of people coming together with a dream.
Yeah, while you skim 20%.
20? I skim 30 at least.
Another cop pulls down the lottery sign and rips it up.
Oh, come on. I just paid $2 for that.
As the cops dismantle Barnum's makeshift lottery stand, he turns to see Caroline watching him. He smiles bravely. Exterior Lower East Side Street, Manhattan, day later. A crowded shopping street. Barnum walks in the crowd, deeply frustrated by this setback. Caroline tags along with him. He stops on the curb as a horse-drawn wagon drives past.
They close it down.
Because they can't see. If they can't see, it doesn't exist.
But I don't understand.
As they cross the street, Barnum stops, searching for the right words, beyond frustrated. Up the street, a man steps right into the path of the horse-drawn wagon. Its driver yanks the horse's reins, causing the wagon to jackknife. Barnum turns. Suddenly, several hundred brightly colored balls spill out onto the street, bouncing and rolling past them in every direction. It is a wondrous moment. They're right in the center of it all. All other activity stops as children and adults gather up the balls and toss them back and forth. Barnum watches as the ashen street is transformed into a festive tempest of color and joy. He leans in, pointing.
Look!
Oh, they're dancing!
Exterior street day. Pedestrians, avoiding the balls, trying to keep their balance, seem to mimic a choreographed circus routine. A brief explosion of joy, color, movement, mirth, excitement. Exterior, Lower East Side Street, Manhattan day. Barnum is transfixed by his sudden glimpse. To Caroline.
You see? When the unexpected happens, everything is possible. The rules go out the window, and life becomes joyous.
Caroline nods, sharing his excitement. Then gradually, street activity returns to normal. Barnum shakes his head.
If only I could capture that.
As he watches wistfully, a last ball rolls across the street and comes to a stop in front of a derelict 3-story building with foreclosure notice on the front door. Barnum turns his eyes up at the building, an idea forming. Interior Bank, Manhattan day. Barnum sits opposite a bank manager.
Mr. Barnum, this venture you propose is risky, if not downright bizarre. The bank is going to need substantial collateral.
Barnum pulls a full set of legal documents and puts them on the desk.
I own the deed and title to every trading vessel in this flotilla.
The banker looks at the documents, then at Barnum, impressed.
I see. And where are these ships now?
In the South China Seas.
Ah, well then. What do you plan to call this scheme of yours?
Exterior Lower East Side Street, Manhattan day, weeks later. Barnum shows his family the new building, spruced up with flags and colorful posters. A sign introduces Barnum's American Museum of Curiosities. Carolyn reads it, puzzled.
Barnum's American Museum of Curiosities.
What kind of museum is it, Daddy?
It's a place to be transported, to let your imagination soar, to see things you never thought you'd see in your life.
Oh, what sort of things?
Interior Barnum's Museum day. Thwack! A guillotine blade comes down, cutting off Marie Antoinette's head. Helen covers her mouth in shock. What is it? Barnum energetically leads them through a room filled with famous figures. Many have been slightly damaged in transit.
A wax figure. They're all the rage in Europe now. Look, there's Napoleon. Oh, hello, and Marie Antoinette with a sore throat. Oh, you can see them all. The most famous people who ever lived. Everyone knows they're not real, but it doesn't matter. People want to believe, so they do.
Speaking of which, I brought this.
Charity holds something wrapped in a blanket. Barnum unwraps it. It's the driftwood mermaid from the beach. Barnum is touched. He looks up at Charity and she smiles.
Oh, what's that?
Barnum carefully sets the piece of wood into a display case.
It's a mermaid, straight from Fiji.
Looks like driftwood.
Only to the most literal-minded.
He looks to Charity for support. Charity, however, looks around skeptically, the room filled with a rather sorry collection. A pygmy skeleton, half-melted wax figures, etc.
I'm not sure people are going to pay to see a handful of waxed dummies.
Exactly, which is also why I hired acrobats.
He whistles, and a family of elderly Romanians stumble on to do a routine. Barnum beams as the girls look on in wonder. Charity leaves, needing a moment. Barnum watches her go. Interior Barnum's museum a few minutes later. Barnum comes into the lobby to find Charity fretting.
I know how it looks.
Good. I mean, if you didn't, I'd be worried.
This is just the beginning.
How much did we put into this again?
It's complicated.
How much?
Everything.
Charity takes a moment to absorb that.
You're either a genius or a madman.
Or both.
Off of Barnum's grin, we dissolve to interior Barnum's museum a few weeks later. A small musical band rehearses in the corner. Not very well. Barnum moves through the place trailed by Helen and Caroline in their best dresses as he makes sure everything is ready. They approach Ann Wheeler, the acrobat from the beginning, doing a one-handed handstand on the raised palm of her brother W.D. 20 African American with a boxer's build. The girls are transfixed. Anne sees them and dismounts.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Barnum. Opening day jitters.
Please, call me PT. Girls, this is Ann Wheeler and her brother, W.D., the greatest acrobats in the world.
Anne rolls her eyes at the hyperbole and smiles at the girls.
Maybe Brooklyn.
Okay, everyone, take your places.
Interior Barnum's museum lobby a bit later. Barnum marches across the festively decorated lobby, complete with a grand opening banner. He's trailed by Caroline and Helen. A cashier, Mr. O'Malley, gets ready to sell tickets. The band strikes up their best festive opening day music.
All right, now, is everyone ready?
Ready?
Ready? He reaches the front doors, takes one last look around, then throws them open grandly, his face filled with expectation, and no one is there. Outside on the street, ordinary life continues on, ignoring them. Everyone deflates a little bit, except Barnum. No one cares.
No, they do care. They just don't know it yet.
He picks up an old-fashioned megaphone and puts on his hat. Exterior Barnum's Museum day. Continuous. Barnum comes out, sees a parade of gray people trudging through their daily grind. He starts hawking the passerby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, step this way. You won't believe your eyes. Through these doors are more mysteries and beguilements than have ever been assembled under one roof.
No one pays attention. He tries again.
Right this way, folks. Be the first to see the wonders of Barnum Museum. Come on, come all. See things you've never seen, things you've never imagined.
He stops. Dozens of people walk past, ignoring the museum. Then he notices Caroline and Helen by the front door, watching him fail to draw a crowd. He turns, mind spinning, desperate not to fail again. He turns and takes stock of his assets. Anne, W.D., Charity, Caroline, and Helen, and O'Malley, the pudgy, earnest, fresh off the boat Irish ticket seller. Barnum marches over to the ticket booth.
Mr. O'Malley, what are you doing?
At the moment, sir, very little.
Exactly. Come out. I need your help.
O'Malley exits the ticket booth, uncomfortable with Barnum's attention. Barnum throws his arms over O'Malley's shoulders.
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm out here trying to get as many people as possible to buy tickets to my museum.
And you want me to help?
No. I want you to tell everyone they shouldn't buy my tickets.
O'Malley looks baffled. Barnum leads him into the museum.
Let me explain.
Exterior Barnum's Museum day. Barnum and O'Malley step onto the street, nervous. People pass by without a second look. Barnum speaks Sato.
Okay, let's sell this. If things go wobbly, we'll make a quick exit. Ready?
O'Malley nods. Barnum lifts his megaphone in barker mode.
Come one, come all, see the wonders of Barnum Museum. Step right up, folks.
O'Malley takes a breath. Suddenly, he is an unhappy customer. Sir, I want my money back. You should be ashamed of this museum. Ashamed, I say. A few people are drawn by the ruckus. Barnum confronts him.
Now, see here, sir. You bought your ticket and saw the sights.
O'Malley, getting into it, goes big, almost hysterical. Oh, if only I hadn't. If only I could unsee what my eyes have glimpsed. It's unfit for decent people what you have in there. Unfit for decent society. Look what you've done to my wife and children. Charity approaches, looking stricken, clutching Caroline and Helen to her sides. The girls cover their faces and weep.
You should be ashamed of yourself, Barnum. It's not fit for children and ladies.
Maybe not for ladies, but what about you?
Can't talk to my wife that way. He grabs Barnum. They tussle. Women scream. A big crowd forms. Suddenly, a police whistle. A cop pushes his way through the crowd, the same one who broke up the lottery.
Break it up, break it up. What's going on here? Who started this?
He pulls them apart. O'Malley turns and addresses the crowd. This museum is unfit for decent society. No one should buy a ticket. No one.
You can't tell these good people what to do. They think for themselves, make up their own minds. Isn't that right, folks?
The crowd roars in agreement. Barnum's got them with him.
Yes, yeah. We can think for ourselves.
You are wicked, sir. Wicked. Barnum attacks him. They wrestle some more. The cop pulls them apart.
That's it, Barnum. You're under arrest.
Barnum, scared, breaks away and sprints back into the museum. The cop puts a hand on his holster and runs after him.
Stop right there. Stop or I'll shoot.
Barnum runs into the museum. The cop follows. The crowd, watching it all agog, erupts in a hubbub. Interior Barnum's museum continuous. Barnum runs in, stops. Then the cop comes in, joins him. Immediately clear that they are, in fact, Confederates.
Here we go. Stand back.
He strikes a match, lights a small string of firecrackers. Barnum tosses them on the floor. The first one pops loudly. Exterior Barnum's Museum day. From inside, a muffled pop. Another pop, 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 and a scream. The crowd surges forward. Everyone is now completely desperate to see what's inside the museum. WD leaps into action, waving the crowd towards the box office. This way, folks, see what's inside. Have your money ready, children half price. O'Malley, Charity, Caroline, and Helen stop acting and watch, amazed as the crowd surges in, all desperate to buy tickets. Interior Barnum's Museum night. WD seeing the last customers out the door. Thanks for coming, folks. Tell your friends. Come back real soon. He closes the door. Charity opens the door to a back office. Barnum and the cop are kicked back playing cards.
Are they gone?
You are shameless.
Barnum grins, peels off a few bills, slips them to the cop.
Thanks for coming in, Tommy. Sorry about the short notice.
Anytime, PT. Always wanted to be an actor. Nice working with you. Charity?
He tips his hat to her and exits. Barnum turns proudly.
So, how many tickets did we sell?
Oh, we don't know.
We ran out of tickets! Barnum couldn't be happier. Charity looks at him, both impressed and concerned. Barnum sees her look and grins.
They may not get exactly what they paid for, but they're getting their money's worth.
Interior Barnum's Museum night several weeks later. Barnum, upbeat, sees out the last visitors of the day.
Have a good night. Come see us again.
The visitors file out, looking only moderately impressed. Barnum shuts the doors behind them and allows his false cheer to fade. He heads back to where WD is counting the take. Less than yesterday. Barnum nods. He plops into a chair, edgy, mind racing.
The museum's not working. There are things to see, but it doesn't add up. People visit, but they don't want to come back?
Why would they come back?
Exactly! I want them happy when they walk out of here. Transformed. Open to possibilities again. All I've got to do now is a crummy museum.
He sits again, stewing, seething. WD cautiously avers. Well, maybe you could show them some while they're here. That's the business you're in, right? Showing? Barnum freezes, his mind going a million miles an hour, snaps his fingers, jumps up, and paces like a caged tiger.
You're right! I don't need to be stuffed. I don't need a stuffed lion. I need a real lion. Not a wax soldier, a real soldier. It needs to be an experience, an event, with music and magic and death-defying feats. Something you'll want to see over and over. Not a museum, but a show. Not just any show. The greatest show anyone has ever seen. The greatest show on Earth.
Interior Barnum's tenement apartment, bedroom night. Barnum tucks Caroline into Helen, who is already asleep.
Will there be dancing girls?
Every show has dancing girls.
What about acrobats?
Every show has acrobats, or trained animals, or daredevils.
Why don't you have them all? A show with everything!
That's not a bad idea. A show with everything. But still, it's just more of the same, isn't it?
But what else is there?
I don't know. I want performers you can't see anywhere else. Someone who couldn't possibly exist, but they are there. They're right in front of you. A man with two heads, or a giant, 10 feet tall, like you're walking into a dream. And when you walk out, you're glad when you were alive to see it.
What about Tom Thumb?
Tom Thumb?
He's a boy we read about in school. They say he's the size of your thumb.
Tom Thumb. I like it. You should be doing my job.
He leans down and kisses Caroline. She smiles. Exterior, small wooden cabin, porch, day. Barnum knocks on the door. A crone-like woman opens it and peers out, not saying a word.
Oh, good day, madam. I'm looking for a Mr. Charles Sherwood Stratton.
Oh, I've never heard of him.
She starts to close the door. He stops her.
That's a funny thing to say about your son.
Her look confirms he's right.
Please, ma'am, you have no idea what I've gone through to find him. I have a proposal that could change his life.
The woman, Mrs. Stratton, hesitates. Not sure she understands what he said. Finally, she pulls the door open. Interior, small wooden cabin, day. Barnum sits in the main room waiting. After a moment, Charles Stratton enters the room. 25 inches, 20 pounds. He's a boy, but the same chromosomal glitch that affects his growth also makes him look like a much older man. His mother turns away, clearly ashamed, but Barnum is delighted.
Hello, my name is Mr. P.T. Barnum.
Barnum stands, realizes he's way too tall, sits back down. Stratton stares at the floor, guarded, defensive, tense.
What do you want with me?
I'm putting together a show, and I want you to star in it.
A snort from Mrs. Stratton.
Ah.
Stratton looks up accusingly. A lifetime of alienation and ridicule has made him scrappy.
Why, so people can laugh at me?
They're laughing anyway, kid. You might as well get paid.
They are shocked. No one's ever spoken so bluntly to them before.
Really, Mr. Barnum? You should be ashamed.
I was Miss Stratton. For a long time, I was poor, and I was laughed at. I've been called a fool so many times.
Oh, please, you're breaking my heart.
Barnum turns, facing down the tiny but glowering Stratton.
But I don't care about that. But I don't care about that anymore.
Good, neither do I.
Because we all have just one life, Mr. Stratton. One can wallow away in self-pity.
Thank you, I will. Goodbye, Mr. Barnum.
Stratton exits, slamming the bedroom door. Barnum, it seems, has failed. The mother gently ushers Barnum to the door.
Oh, leave us alone, please.
At the door, Barnum hesitates, noticing some toy horses and soldiers on this windowsill. He picks one up, turns. He speaks out loud, conjuring a vision, selling a dream.
Here's what I see, Mr. Stratton. A soldier. Not just a soldier. A general. On horseback. Riding across the stage. With a sword. A gun. The most beautiful uniform ever made. People will come from all over the world to see him ride and shoot and be a commander of men. I'm creating a great spectacular, Mr. Stratton, and I want you to be my star.
Silence. The back door creaks open. Stratton peeks in. Barnum can see him wavering, with fervent conviction.
No one ever made a difference in this world by being like everyone else. You can come with me now, or live your dreams, or stay here, stay with your own self-pity and your mother.
Beat. The door opens fully. Stratton stands, unguarded and vulnerable. It's like Barnum has looked into his soul.
What do you say, Tom?
My name's Charles.
Not anymore.
Exterior, Barnum's Museum, night. Close on, a giant poster on the marquee features a drawing of Stratton in a general's uniform riding a gigantic horse. Grand opening, Tom Thumb, the smallest general in history. Craned down to find a small crowd, a few hundred customers, filing down the sidewalk into the museum entrance. Exterior, back alley, night. In a nearby back alley, Barnum stands with Tom, helping him struggle into the jacket of a tiny military uniform.
This thing is itchy. Didn't you say my uniform would be nice?
For the audience, not you. Are these enough medals for one general?
How should I know? I'm 11.
And that's the last time you'll ever say that, because today you turn 52. Let me hear you say it. How old are you?
I'm 52.
Right. Now, do you need to use the bathroom before you go on?
Tom shakes his head. Off screen, the crowd roars at a pre-opening act. Tom turns nervous, starting to get cold feet.
This was a mistake. I can't do this.
Sure you can. You have to.
No, this is crazy. They'll know I'm faking. I'm not a general. Look at me.
Barnum crouches down, grabs him, looks him in the eye.
Listen to me. Listen. It doesn't matter where you're from anymore. What matters is where you're going. You can choose who you want to be. All of us can. Don't you see? You can ride out there on a horse, and you will be a soldier, a general. And you're going to be the tallest and bravest man in this room. Be proud of who you are, Charles.
Tom.
Exactly. Now come on, kid. What do you say we give these people a show?
Tom looks at Barnum, scared but willing to try. They're jumping off this cliff together. Interior, Barnum's Museum, night. The audience is seated on benches now, right in the middle of the main floor attractions. Anne, WD, and other performers do a few acrobatic tricks. Barnum hasn't worked it out yet, but we can see the idea of the circus starting to take shape.
Ladies and gentlemen, cads and crooks, for the first time in New York, I give you untamed creatures of the wild. The mayor has kindly sent his finest men to protect us. Should one of you do something to upset the animals?
He tips his hat to a few policemen. Then he nods to WD, who stands in the back with a trainer and two bears. Go! The trainer enters the performing circle, coaxing the bears, who walk on hind legs, to yells of delight from the crowd. Helen sits on Caroline's lap, laughing and applauding loudly. Barnum nods to WD, who slides open a freight door.
And now, for our final attraction. They say good things come in small packages. Ladies and gentlemen, the bravest, fiercest, wildest, most dangerous soldier who ever lived.
The expectant crowd turns. There are gasps as General Tom Thumb rides out on a little pony.
Please make way for General Tom Thumb.
The crowd roars as Tom Thumb rides his pony across the full length of the museum, firing a gun. He seems transformed, cocky, mischievous, full of joy, as is the audience. Barnum, thrilled, takes a seat next to Charity. She smiles, taking in the laughter and delight around them.
I don't know what you were trying to do, but I'm pretty sure you're doing it.
Barnum smiles at his wife, elated by the energy in the room. Interior, Barnum Arms, night. An after-show party. Tom Thumb entertains the others by drinking from a bottle while balancing on WD's outstretched hand. Barnum plucks the bottle from his hand, replaces it with a glass of milk, to much laughter. Barnum, in high spirits, downs a drink at the bar with Anne, then turns to see Sam Roth, a grumpy newspaper man who watches the antics with opprobrium. Roth lifts his glass to Barnum. Who's Roth?
Roth is muted as he says, "Impressive, Mr. Barnum."
Oh, Thank you, sir. And you are?
Sam Roth.
From the Tribune. You got my letter. It's an honor, sir. How much do you have to pay for you to write a good review for us?
I don't know if you have that much money, sir.
You might be surprised, Mr. Roth.
Yes, well, no one ever went broke underestimating the intelligence of the American public. Your show is proof of that, even though the public has its limits, I hope.
Barnum seems thrown by this.
I think perhaps you missed the point.
Really? And what was their subtext with the prancing dwarf that went over my head?
You're overthinking it. We aim to show people the wonders of the world.
Wonders? Is that what you call freaks being paraded for entertainment?
Sir, the man you're calling a freak is my colleague and my friend.
Oh, is that how you treat your friends? Putting them on display for everyone to gawk at? I'd hate to waste ink on this atrocity, but I have a duty to warn the public. And when I'm finished, I hope you will be finished as well.
Roth finishes his drink and departs, leaving Barnum worried. Interior
so-
Barnum's Museum Day. Warning. Barnum, Charity, WD, Anne, and Tom sit at a table by the stage as Charity finishes reading out Roth's review.
Insulting, degrading, and perhaps just shy of criminal. P.T. Barnum's show is the singularly most unpleasant evening I have spent in years, calling to mind the most primitive aspects of the Roman circuses of yore.
She stops. It's too painful to go on. Uneasy silence. Barnum takes the review and scans it, thinking fiercely.
Ken, I'm so sorry.
Barnum looks up, eyes shining, seemingly elated.
It's fantastic!
He leaps up, rips out the review, and hands it to WD.
Go to the Tribune and buy half a page ad. Tell them to reprint the entire review, word for word.
Everyone is stunned. This is borderline insanity.
He called you the Prince of Humbug.
Humbug is merely a time-honored use of hyperbole to create excitement and joy.
Humbug is a lie, dear.
What's important is we made page 1, and tell them to give half-price tickets to anyone who brings in a review. When other papers see people rushing to buy the Tribune, they'll review us too.
WD starts for the door, then turns back to Barnum. You sure about this, Mr. B? The whole city will read this by dinner time. Barnum hesitates, doubting his bravado for just a second. Charity, clocking it, comes to his rescue.
Of course he's sure. He was born sure.
WD nods and leaves. Barnum smiles at his wife. Exterior Barnum's Museum Day, weeks later. The line outside the museum is now 3 times longer. We're following a woman who pushes her way through the crowd, her face unseen. People react as she passes. As she approaches WD in the box office window, he looks up. His jaw drops. Angle. Letty Lutz, mid-30s, dark hair, strong, pleasant features, and a full beard. She smiles.
Hi. I'd like to see Mr. Barnum.
Interior Barnum's Museum Backstage Day. WD leads Letty in. Barnum is busy helping O'Clancy, the Irish giant, onto stilts. I thought it was O'Malley before, but okay. Humbug behind the scenes. Nearby, Tom Thumb sits strumming on a ukulele while an enormously fat man, the Lord of Leeds, plucks out a simple tune on a banjo, the melody to come alive. Opposite Barnum, 2 men sit on a sofa, their backs to us. In the background, acrobats and jugglers casually practice their routines. Excuse me, PT, this, lady? She barrels forward.
Letty Lutz, nice to meet you. Let me get to the point, Mr. Barnum. I've never been one for self-pity or embarrassment. So when I read in the paper about folks paying good money to see a short man, a tall man and a fat man, I thought, why should they be the only ones making out? Heck, I'm as weird as any of them.
Barnum stands, clearly charmed.
Weird isn't the word I'd use, Miss Lutz. More like rare, blessed, beautiful.
Letty beams. No one has ever spoken to her like this.
Allow me to introduce you. Ho Clancy, the Trish Giant, 9 feet tall.
With 2 feet to help.
The famous Tom Thumb, our biggest star, the Lord of Leeds. And my new friends, Chain and Aang of Same.
Siam.
Siam.
Smiles and greetings. The seated men turn and stand. Meet Chang and Aang, the legendary Siamese twins, 40. Each bows and extends a courtly hand. Letty lets out a laugh, takes both their hands. The place already feels like home.
Oh, fellas, I think you got me beat.
Music starts under. Poster montage. Quick cuts. Posters are rolled up on the side of the museum advertising the wondrous attractions inside with Barnum hype. Tallest man alive. O'Clancy, the Irish giant. Letty Lutz, America's bearded woman. The Lord of Leeds, heaviest man on earth. Exterior Barnum's Museum Day. The line is now around the block. WD supervises more ticket takers. A sign, by popular demand, second show tonight. As customers move quietly through the doors, there's more a sense of drudgery than excitement. People with hard lives. Barnum walks down the line, eyeing the customers in line.
I stumble through my days, had my head hung low, my sky a shade of gray, was told to hide away.
Interior Barnum's Museum evening. Barnum walks backstage, singing as he passes all of the performers preparing to go on. Chang and Aang dressing together, Anne stretching, Letty combing her beard. He stops by each one, helping them get ready for the show, trading grins and supportive smiles, keeping everyone happy.
Staying locked inside and made to feel ashamed. Someone had been long forgotten. Told me it was my only option. But then I flicked the switch and brightened up that darkest day. Sun is up and the colors blinding. Take the world and redefine it. Anything you wanna be, it's time to let them see.
Interior Barnum's Museum night. The cavernous first floor has been transformed, dominated by a circle of tiered bleachers surrounding a massive stage. Barnum stands alone, singing to the crowd, illuminated by a carbon lamp and candle footlights.
Come alive, go and light your light, let it burn so bright, reaching up to the sky, and it's open wide, you're electrified, and the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, 'cause we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. So come alive.
In the wings, Letty stands in a sequined gown, suddenly unsure of herself. She makes eye contact with Barnum, who offers a warm, reassuring smile. She will be safe here. He gestures to the stage. She smiles and steps into the light. Then Barnum encourages a parade of oddities to take the stage. Those who were once hidden in the shadows now step into the spotlight and feel accepted for the first time. Oh, sorry. You step out of the dark.
Can't believe you're right. You don't know what is real.
Now they're seeing who you are.
And all you fear just fades away, and you got a whole new thing to feel.
Never been appreciated. Wondered why you'd been created. But now they're flipping, falling. Here I'm calling out your name.
A little bit of lightning striking, bottles up to keep on shining.
You can try, you can't deny, you'll never be the same. Come alive, go and light your light, let it burn so bright, reaching up to the sky, and it's open wide, you're electrified.
People gasp as they suddenly see Anne circling in a wide arc above their heads. Children point and laugh as circus performers tumble into each other on the stage. Then a massive lion enters, followed by a colorfully dressed lion tamer. It is a show of astonishments, almost too much to take in. In the wings, Barnum helps Tom Thumb onto his pony, readying him for his big entrance. Then Barnum turns. Eunice the elephant is there, towering over them. Barnum turns back, looks at Tom. They make eye contact. Uh-oh. Jump to Eunice the elephant enters the ring with Tom Thumb riding on top, causing the place to explode. We realize we are watching the birth of the circus as we know it. Interior Barnum's Museum Day. Barnum watches the oddities lined up to take a bow. Letty comes and pulls him from the wings out onto the stage. She places a tin crown on his head. It reads, Prince of Humbug. Barnum plays to the crowd, plays to the joke, proudly strutting across the stage. In the audience, Helen shouts out to Charity and Caroline, What's humbug?
They say it's fakery, trickery, flim-flam.
No, it's magic!
The whole circus unites behind the smiling, tin-crowned Barnum. It is a joyous, exuberant moment.
And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, because you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, because we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. So come alive. Come on, come on, come in, come on. To anyone who's searching for a way to break free.
Exterior Barnum's Museum night. People spill out in the street after a show, elated, abuzz with delight, and transformed by the experience. They are literally grabbing their friends and pulling them towards the box office. You gotta see this! Hawkers sell merchandise. Children buy Tom Thumb dolls, Eunice the elephant lollipops. Barnum surveys the people as they exit. He sees Sam Roth skulking in the alley and flashes a triumphant smile at him.
Tell me, Barnum, does it bother you that what you're selling is fake?
Barnum steps onto the sidewalk. Roth steps out as well now, so the two men are facing off just a few feet apart.
Do those smiles seem fake? Or the applause? It doesn't matter where it comes from. The joy is real.
So now you're a philanthropist.
I'm an entertainer.
You're the Prince of Humbug.
Hyperbole isn't the worst crime, Mr. Roth. Men suffer more from imagining too little than too much.
Ah, the creed of a true fraud.
There's nothing more sadder than a cynic, except perhaps a cynic with a pen.
A philosopher too, please, sir. Don't add pretensions to your list of sins.
Mr. Roth, when is the last time you smiled or had a good laugh? A real one.
The simplicity of the question silences Roth. Barnum smiles.
A joyless reporter covering the theater. Now who's the fraud?
Roth waves him off and starts to leave. Barnum stops him.
By the way, Roth, the word you used to describe my show?
Barnum points to the marquee. American Museum has been painted over. The new sign reads, P.T. Barnum's Circus.
Has a nice ring to it.
Roth lets out a snort and leaves. Barnum steps into the middle of the street and calls after him defiantly.
I'm still here, Roth. I'm still here.
Interior Barnum's Museum Day. Another day. The grand finale, every act on stage. Barnum beams as he takes in the delirium in the audience, feeling as much at home with the oddities as he has felt anywhere in his life.
Break free, and the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, because you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, because we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, because you're dreaming with our eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, because we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. Because we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. So come alive.
Over the sounds of enthusiastic applause, we cut to Exterior Street, Bethel, Connecticut day. A beautiful tree-lined street. Barnum steps out of a zebra-drawn carriage and helps a blindfolded Charity down. Helen and Caroline jump out after them. Time has passed. They're all better dressed and more polished than they used to be.
Right this way, milady.
Vicky, you're muted.
I'm going to break my neck.
Barnum removes the scarf. Charity is stunned as he's the same mansion she and Barnum broke into as children.
This is the same.
It is.
In the gated backyard, there is an actual giraffe grazing.
Oh, Finn, can we afford this?
Of course. And even if we couldn't, it's an investment. Land is one thing they're not making any money of. To think there's something on the porch for you. I think there's something on the porch for you.
Helen looks and sees a giant wooden dollhouse on the porch. She shrieks happily and runs up to claim it. They come up the stairs behind her. Barnum opens the door. He grabs a small white box from the foyer, turns to Caroline.
Something for you, too.
She opens the box and pulls out a pair of ballet slippers. She looks up at him, just what she always wanted.
And funny enough, there's a ballet school just down the street.
Caroline jumps for joy and kisses him, then runs to catch up to Helen, who's already inside the house and headed upstairs.
Your parents still live nearby, don't they?
Oh, Finn, if I didn't know you better, I might wonder if you bought this house to rub my parents' nose in your success.
Our success. And of course not. It's true that I've accomplished everything your father said I never would.
Yes, but you know, to them, house or no house, you'll always be a bum from the south side.
Yes, but now I'm a bum with a huge house. They have to walk past every Saturday.
She laughs. He sweeps her up in his arms and carries her up the steps and across the threshold. Interior, Barnum Mansion continuous.
It's beautiful.
She runs upstairs to look around. Barnum stands at the foot of the stairs, watching happily as the members of his family appear and disappear from their rooms. Finally, Charity slides down the banister, a little circus in her after all, and lands in Barnum's arms. They do a little dance around the room.
It took 20 years longer than I planned, but welcome home, Charity.
He dips her back. They kiss. He brings her up again.
And the giraffe is not staying.
Right.
Interior, Barnum Mansion, foyer, another day. Caroline sits at the foot of the stairs, putting on her ballet shoes. She practices a few motions. She has clearly already begun classes. Music, orchestral version of A Million Dreams. Caroline dances around the foyer, confidence growing. She disappears around the staircase, and when she emerges, she is 2 years older, dressed in a tutu. The lights go down. She is lit by a single spotlight as she 65 dances. I don't remember that from ballet class. As she dances with skill and maturity. We are no longer in Barnum's mansion, but on a dark stage. As Caroline finishes her dance, she is joined by 6 other ballerinas. They bow to a round of applause. We dissolve to Interior, Metropolitan Museum of Art, lobby night later. A reception for students and parents, where the upper crust gather to turn their daughters into swans. Barnum and Charity stroll among the other guests. He is upbeat, ebullient.
Remember when we couldn't afford ballet slippers? And now, look at this.
Barnum tips his hat to another couple, Mr. and Mrs. Winthrop.
Oh, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Winthrop. Lovely recital, don't you think?
They barely nod as they pass. Charity shakes her head.
Why do you still bother?
I know I shouldn't. I just love the look on their faces when I do.
He watches the Winthrops go join a small crowd encircling a handsome, jaded young man, Philip Carlyle. Barnum frowns.
Who is this man?
Philip Carlyle? Oh, his new play is a hit on Broadway.
Play, huh? You pay good money to watch people stand around and talk for 2 hours. They call me a con man.
As he watches the others flock around Philip, he can see the social power of artistic success. Barnum suddenly makes a beeline, joining the small crowd. Charity follows. As he arrives, the Winthrops are begging Philip for a favor.
We know it's sold out, but if you could find us 2 tickets for Sunday.
Yes, of course. I'll see what I can do. Excuse me. He slips off, Loesch, bored by the attention. The Winthrops know they've been dissed. They look disappointed. Barnum, witnessing this, can't help himself. He steps up, genuine.
You know, if you ever want to take in the circus, we'd love to have you. As my guest, of course. Bring the family.
Oh, thank you just the same, Mr. Barnum.
They turn on their heels and walk off with another couple. Barely out of hearing, the Winthrops lean into each other.
My God, what's that smell?
Peanuts.
They and the other couple laugh. A nearby group of ballerinas snicker and turn, parting to reveal Caroline among them, with the Winthrop's daughter, Mary. Caroline's eyes well up, but she forces a smile. The Winthrops stop short, covering.
Oh, hello, girls. Caroline, dear, I believe your parents are looking for you.
Rack focus across the room to see Barnum staring darkly. He has witnessed the entire exchange. Exterior street, Bridgeport, Connecticut, night later. Charity and Helen walk ahead while Barnum strolls with Caroline, who is withdrawn and a bit down.
I was so proud of you tonight, Caroline. You were amazing up there.
Oh, I really wasn't. I've actually decided to quit the ballet.
Quit? Why?
I've started too late. I'll never catch up. I'm just not good enough.
Not good enough? You were the best dancer on the stage.
Carolyn looks away, too old to buy into his hype.
What would you know about it?
You think I can't spot talent?
How many ballets have you seen in your life?
Well...
Not everything's like the circus, you know. Ballet takes years of hard work. You can't just fake it.
She runs off, bounding up the steps ahead of Charity and Helen. We hold on Barnum, who looks stricken. Interior, Barnum Mansion, bedroom, night. Charity moves in and out of the room, preparing for bed. Barnum is slumped in a chair, sad and worried.
It'd be a shame if she quit. She just feels like she just feels out of place with the other girls.
Well, I should hope so. I've never seen so many entitled little prima donnas.
Those prima donnas are the most important thing to the world to her right now. She just wants to fit in.
Caroline gives him a look. This is about more than Caroline.
People like the Winthrops will never accept us, Finn. If they did, they'd have to stop judging. And then they might actually have to do something with their lives.
I don't want it for me.
Oh, Caroline will be fine. Eventually.
She's embarrassed by me.
She's a teenager.
Charity puts her arm around him and smiles, but he won't be assuaged. He shakes his head. This cuts too deep.
No. I want her to be proud of who she is. Her family. Proud of me.
She is proud of you. In her way.
He looks at her. That seals it. She gazes at him, worried.
Phineas?
Pre-lap, the sound of polite applause. Exterior, Winter Garden Theater, night. Barnum exits, pulling on his coat, and spots Philip Carlyle standing under the marquee, beside a poster advertising the play that just ended, The Drunken of the Fallen Saved, a temperance movement drama that was the snob hit of 1857.
Excuse me, Mr. Carlyle. I believe you produced this play?
Yes, and I apologize. Refunds are available at the box office.
P.T. Barnum.
From the circus? I'm a great admirer of what you do, Mr. Barnum.
Oh, come now.
I'm serious. People leave your shows transformed, or at least a good deal happier than when they came in, which is more than I can say for my play. Can the evils of alcohol be the theme, plot, and moral all at the same time? He glances around at the sober-faced survivors of his play.
Yet you have no trouble selling tickets.
My audience believe it makes them sophisticated. I exploit that pretension and everyone wins. Except Art, of course. Art takes a bit of a beating.
I don't suppose I could buy you a drink. That is it. Unless you don't.
He gestures to a photograph of the abstemious Mr. Cribbs from the play. Philip takes a flask from his vest pocket. How do you think I get through this play every night? Interior private club, bar, night. A fancy room, almost empty at the late hour. A lone piano player plays. They're a few rounds in. Barnum is low-key, but he's in full sell mode. Passionate, a true believer.
If we present legitimate entertainment, we can expand our appeal. Bring in a carriage trade. Go after higher brows.
Funny. You want to attract the snobs, and I've spent my entire life wishing to get away from them. They are suffocating. He downs his drink, feeling vaguely sorry for himself. Barnum smiles and leans back.
So come join the circus. You clearly have flair for show business.
Show business. Never heard that term before.
Because I just invented it. And you were there.
I like it, but I'm still not clear on what it is you think I can do for you. The last few drinkers make their exit, leaving Barnum and Philip alone with the piano player.
Teach me how to appeal to the snobs, as you call them. Make it fashionable, sophisticated, ennobulating, Shakespeare, and all that. Exploit their pretensions.
You created this wonderful show and now you want to pervert it with culture?
Anything to fill seats, Mr. Carlo. And I'll teach you everything I know about the circus.
Philip grins at Barnum. He really likes him. However, I appreciate the offer, Mr. Barnum, but such an association could, at the very least, cost me my inheritance. Barnum waves dismissively, cheerful and high-spirited.
Oh, it costs you a lot more than that. Your inheritance, your reputation, your place in society. Why, people would look at you the same way they look at me.
No offense.
None taken.
The pianist hits a chord and Barnum starts to sing.
Right here, right now, I put the offers out. I don't want to chase it down, but I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free out of the drudgery and walls you keep in. So trade that typical. Wait, or you can do. Wait.
Original versions of the song, it's okay.
Yes. Or. Cause you can do like you do, or you can do like me. Stay in the cage, or you'll finally take the key. Oh, damn, suddenly you're free to fly. It'll take you to the other side.
Don't you know that I'm okay with this uptown part I get to play? Cause I got what I need and I don't want to take the ride. I don't need to see the other side. So go and do like you do. I'm good to do like me. Ain't in a cage, so I don't need to take the key. Oh man, maybe you should wonder why they're laughing on the other side.
Now is this really how you like to spend your days? With days you can promise to not rock the boat and you can make the waves. You got a life of a little, gotta laugh. Or you can make the waves and gotta live a little, gotta laugh a little. Gotta give yourself the freedom to dream and it'll forge a world that you'll be shaping. Take your walls and start breaking. Now that's a deal that seems worth taking. But I guess I'll leave that up to you.
Barnum turns and walks away from Philip. Over his shoulder, he points back to Philip's flask and casually says,
You know, you might not have to drink so much if you actually enjoyed your life.
Philip looks down at the flask in his hand, realizing Barnum is right. He's won over, but he won't admit it yet. Barnum and Philip end up on opposite sides of the piano negotiating. Well, it's intriguing, but it's going to cost me greatly. What's my percentage of the money that you're making?
Well, fair enough. You want a piece of all the action. I'll give you 7 we can shake and make it happen.
18 will be just fine.
Should I just go ahead and ask for nickels on the dime?
15.
Make it 8.
12.
I'll do 9.
10. Barnum considers it, then nods. Philip extends his hand. Sir, you have got yourself a junior partner. Barnum gives the hand a wry look, but doesn't shake it. He pours himself a drink and shoves a bottle in Philip's hand.
What I have is an overcompensated apprentice.
They both toss back a last drink, Philip straight from the bottle, then turn and walk out of the club arm in arm, end song. Interior Barnum's Museum backstage night. Barnum enters and walks Philip through the large backstage space. It's surreal. Oddities, acrobats, jugglers, animals, contortionists. Philip takes it all in. Barnum welcomes him into the fold with an exuberant and well-practiced patter.
Welcome to the circus, Miss Carl. Mr. Carl, the most dangerous
Carlisle.
collection of wild, feral animals ever assembled under one roof. And that's just the performers. We've got big, we've got small, we've got bearded, and we've got tall. But there's one thing that unites all of them.
Tom Thumb, playing cards with O'Clancy the Giant, looks up.
We're underpaid.
We are free here to be ourselves. No, we are vagabonds. I don't feel comfortable saying that word. Bohemians, pirates, let the rest of the world be dull and gray. Let the rest of the world spend their days in drudgery and grub work. We are here as prophets, out of wonder of joy. The fun is our work, and our work is our fun. Come on, I'll show you how it's done.
Might help if I unmute my stuff. Interior Barnum's Museum night. They step off a ladder onto a catwalk above the last row of bleachers. From here you can see everything. The vast space is dark, although you can hear a packed house. Spotlights sweep the room, tracking an acrobatic act. Philip leans forward to see what's going on when the crowd beneath them parts and Anne comes swinging up from below, arms free. Her arc ends almost face to face with Philip, then gravity whips her back in the other direction. Philip turns to Barnum. Barnum grins. Who was that? Later, as another act, a daredevil horse rider takes over, circling the ring, and disengages from her ribbons with WD's help. Barnum steps up with Philip.
Miss Ann Wheeler, I'd like to introduce you to my newest hire, Mr. Philip Carlisle.
Anne takes in Philip with her eyes, then shakes his hand.
And what's your act, Mr. Carlisle?
I don't have an act.
Oh, everyone's got an act.
Instant chemistry. Anne, freed from her ribbon, smiles, flirty, and walks off. Philip, smitten, turns to check out Anne. When he turns back, he finds WD glaring at him. Interior, the Barnum Arms day. The pub across from the museum. Barnum sits at the bar with Tom Thumb, Letty, and O'Clancy, a stack of newspapers in front of them. He reads from Roth's review in the Tribune.
Barnum's reputation as a national clearinghouse for the most grotesque remains firmly intact. How much longer will the public indulge this man's reckless forays into the unseemly depths of bad taste? You can believe he's... Can you believe he's reviewing us again?
What? What do you care about Ruff for? He's a prig and a snob.
Yes, and all the snobs in New York read him. He does their thinking for them.
Barnum throws down the paper, frustrated. Philip bursts into the pub, clearly excited.
Have you seen this?
I have.
I thought I was just good. I thought I was just paying you to class up the joint.
I've been working on it. Everyone. He turns to the others, holds up a folded piece of paper. If you want society to accept you, do you start at the bottom or in the middle? No. You go to the very top.
And what's at the top?
He hands the paper to Barnum. It's a telegram. He reads.
You are hereby invited to an audience with Her Royal Majesty, Victoria. Is this real?
It took some doing, but I got us invited to England to meet with the Queen. Gasps and cheers from the assembled performers.
The Queen, huh? How much is she paying?
Barnum stares at the telegram, a smile forming. Exterior, Barnum Mansion, front porch a few nights later. Charity sits on the front porch swing.
You muted yourself accidentally.
My apologies, I was in the middle of a coughing fit. Exterior Barnum Mansion front porch a few nights later. Charity sits on the porch swing as Barnum alights from a carriage and rushes up the front walk to join her.
Oh, sorry I'm late. Are the kids in bed?
Oh, they tried to stay awake for you.
Barnum sits next to her on the swing, upset to have missed them.
Just 100 things to do. Sending the whole troop to London.
I know, Finn. It's okay.
She rubs his back and gazes at him, already sad.
You know what I realized? We haven't spent a night apart since we got married.
I have to go. If the Queen of England likes us, everyone there will.
And everyone here, too.
Barnum smiles. She can always see through him.
I don't mind if people call me coarse, but when my daughters suffer for it, it breaks my heart.
Just tell me I'm not going to lose you to the snobs.
She leans in, playful. Barnum pulls her into an embrace.
Not to them. Not to anyone.
He kisses her passionately. Music starts under.
And this is time for our intermission. So we'll step away and come back on 15. So see you guys in 8.
Yep. Probably should quickly have one right now. Yes, but it's clearly different, which is tripping me up. But like it's a cold read. So that's to be expected. Nah, but
I hope everyone has gotten their peanuts and popcorn and is ready for the show to continue.
Hello, I'm back. And also to the live audience watching this at home, yes, I did have my mic unmuted, so you were able to hear a bit of banter with some of my with my parents.
I stepped away, so I missed it.
Well, if you rewatch it, you'll probably hear it. Maybe.
It was a little bit of humbug and fakery. All right, so it seems like everybody's back and we can continue. Oh, I meant to ask this in the chat. Petra, do you prefer that I scroll this, or did you want to do that on your own, since we can't hear you, even though it says you're unmuted, but...
Sorry, yes, you're doing fine.
Okay, I shall continue.
You're keeping up.
All right, then when you're ready, we will continue.
Okay. Interior Barnum Mansion, various rooms, night later. Barnum sings a farewell lullaby that will become a duet with Charity to Helen and Caroline, both of whom are asleep.
And you're muted. Oh, there you go.
Wait, close your eyes, rest your head. While the stars are shining brightly, you'll stay. In these arms they were made to hold you tightly. You'll always be without a worry in the world.
Next, he sings to Charity as she sleeps.
If you're scared in the dark, call my name and I will guide you, for I will be there. Look around, I am right beside you. I am here. Dream sweet dreams, my dear, without a worry in the...
Interior Barnum Mansion, foyer, dawn. Music continues to play under as Charity watches from atop the stairs as Barnum prepares to leave. From downstairs, Barnum catches her eye and smiles lovingly up at her. She smiles back and comes down.
Dream sweet dreams, my dear, without a worry in the world.
Barnum kisses her and steps out the front door. Song ends as we linger on Charity at the front door, watching him go, a look of concern on her face. Exterior Buckingham Palace, day. The circus performers disembark from their carriages. They have all tried to dress up with varying success. Anne wears a dazzling gown. Philip helps her down from the carriage. Why, Miss Wheeler, you look like royalty.
Oh, I'm just an acrobat.
Oh no, in the aristocracy of talent, I would say you are a queen. His meaning is clear. She meets his eyes, then moves on. Interior Buckingham Palace, corridor, day. The group is led down an enormous hall by a prim and proper lord-in-waiting. Even dressed up, they look wildly out of place. The enormous, excuse me, the enormous Lord of Leeds is wheezing and falling behind. Tom Thumb tugs on the bottom of his coat.
Only 1 mile to go, Tubbs. Don't die on me. I won't die on you. I may sit on you.
Don't speak to the queen unless spoken to. Do not offer your hand unless she offers hers first, and never turn your back on her royal highness. You must enter and exit the room facing forward.
Well, at least you can't talk about us behind our backs.
Laughs and hoots. Philip shoots Barnum a glance. Soto, I'm starting to think this was a bad idea.
It was your idea.
You shouldn't have listened to me. I'm an apprentice, for God's sake. Interior Buckingham Palace, Queen's Drawing Room, day. The double doors open to the Queen's drawing room. Members of the royal entourage, luminaries, and visitors are present.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Phineas T. Barnum and his troop from America.
Barnum enters with Tom, Letty, Chang and Ang, and the Lord of Leeds, all 500 pounds. Anne follows in her gown with Philip on one side, WD on the other. The place falls silent. Everyone stares as a path is cleared to Queen Victoria, age 30. Barnum and Tom, leading the way, slowly approach the seated queen. Beside her is a small King Charles spaniel on a leash held by one of her courtiers. Your Majesty, it is an honor to meet you. May I present Mr. Phineas T. Barnum?
Oh, I am honored, Your Highness.
Oh, the honor's mine, Mr. Barnum, and I have heard all about your little colonel from my friends in America.
General, ma'am.
Forgive me, General. Oh my, you're even smaller than I expected.
You're not exactly reaching the top shelf yourself, sweetheart.
The assembled nobility gasp. Philip holds his breath. The room remains silent until the queen suddenly bursts into laughter. Everyone else immediately joins in, relieved. The queen's dog starts to bark at Tom, who barks right back. They growl and nip and tug at each other. The queen throws her head back, laughing even harder at Tom's antics. Barnum and Philip share a look of relief. Dissolve to interior Buckingham Palace, Queen's drawing room later. Barnum's group is now off to the side, mingling with other guests. Letty stands proud and pretty. Chang and Eng bow to each side. Tom grabs a creamy pastry off a passing server's tray and bites into it, leaving a dab of cream on his nose. There's a small stir near the doors as the crowd is hushed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jenny Lind.
Guests applaud as Jenny Lind enters. In her early 30s, she is a stunning Scandinavian beauty. Barnum turns to Philip.
Who's that?
Only the most famous singer in Europe.
Oh, another singer, huh?
He rolls his eyes, but as he watches everyone scurry to form a crowd around Miss Lind, Barnum's expression changes. As he watches, the queen herself, regal but plain, chats and smiles with Jenny, clearly taken by her beauty and presence. On Barnum, watching as the old-fashioned royalty of birth is superseded by the new royalty of talent, beauty, and celebrity. Suddenly, it clicks for him. He takes off across the room, heading for Miss Lind. Philip, alarmed, rushes to keep up. Where are you going?
To meet Miss Lind.
You can't just march up to someone like that and talk to them.
Why not? I'm personable, and she's a person.
He quickens his pace. Philip scrambles to keep up as Jenny withdraws from the royal presence and Barnum steps up to her.
Miss Lind, my name is P.T. Barnum.
From America. I've heard of you.
She smiles slyly, suggesting what she's heard. He grins.
Well, if you've heard of me all the way over here, I must be doing something right.
Or else very wrong.
When it comes to publicity, Miss Lind, there's hardly a difference.
Between right and wrong. Those are the words of a scoundrel, Mr. Barnum.
A showman, Miss Lind, just a showman.
He gives her his most winning smile. She returns it. They are on the same wavelength, speaking the same language.
What can I do for you, Mr. Barnum?
I'd like to bring you to America.
That surprises her. She smiles at him.
Is that a proposition?
Oh, no, Miss Barnum would be very displeased. But I'd like to put you on tour there.
Have you heard me sing?
No, and I look forward to it very much. But I see the way everyone in this room is looking at you. You outshine the queen herself. That's all I need to know.
I've never been to America.
It'll be the largest musical event ever staged. The grandest theaters, the finest orchestras, the best of everything. And when you're done, you'll have more money than you'll have to spend a dozen in their lifetimes.
I give most of my earnings to charity, Mr. Barnum, to widows and orphans.
Then all the more reason to say yes.
Jenny laughs, charmed by his unflappable optimism. Her eyes take him in, intrigued, possibly attracted.
I have to ask, Mr. Barnum, why me?
Barnum thinks about it, a moment of real reflection.
Well, people come to see my shows for the pleasure of being hoodwinked. Just once, I'd like to give them something that can't be faked. Something real.
Jenny smiles.
Wow, honesty. I didn't expect that.
Barnum smiles at her. He has her. Dissolve 2, exterior Castle Garden Theater night. A stone castle in Battery Park. A crowd surges past posters touting the premiere concert of the Swedish Nightingale.
Ladies and gentlemen, I recently had the pleasure of hearing the most incredible.
Interior Castle Gardens Theater Lower Manhattan night. A spectacular circular theater. Barnum stands on stage. He nods to Charity, Caroline, and Helen, dressed to the nines.
Most divine voice I have ever heard.
A woman sitting behind Charity turns to her husband and scoffs.
Ah, suddenly he's a connoisseur?
Caroline looks down, embarrassed. Charity takes her hand.
Now I know that sounds like Burnham hype.
This gets a warm laugh. Barnum spots Roth in the audience, arms folded, prepared to disapprove.
But I have no doubt that tonight, even the most joyless critics will be moved.
He catches Roth's eye and grins.
May I present the Swedish Nightingale, Miss Jenny Lind.
A 10-piece orchestra starts to play. Jenny appears far upstage and walks quietly forward, a mirage coming into focus in a simple but stunning dress. There is an audible reaction to her beauty. Charity's grip on Caroline's hand tightens. Then Jenny sings. Song, epic love song. Jenny's voice and the song itself both stun with their beauty and power. In the audience, Philip gazes at Anne. She looks over. Their eyes meet, finding meaning in the words. Then she looks away. Barnum backstage watches, surprised to find himself moved by the simplicity and beauty of the song. He turns and peeks out at the audience, an entire theater filled with high society, embracing Jenny, and in a way, him. He gazes on Caroline, her face impossible to read. Interior Castle Garden Theater, backstage night later. Music continues under. There's an air of excitement that only comes after a perfect show. Cheers continue as Jenny leaves the stage, followed by stagehands carrying bouquets. She's met by Barnum, who looks at her, truly impressed.
Miss Lind, it was, well...
Why, Mr. Barnum, I believe you are speechless.
Charity rushes in with the girls.
Oh, Miss Lind, I've never heard anything so divine.
Aren't you lovely?
I'd like you to meet my wife, Charity, and our girls, Carolyn and Helen.
A pleasure.
You look like a princess, ma'am.
Oh, but you're the beautiful one.
She offers Helen her hand. To shake or to kiss, Helen isn't sure, so she curtsies. Carolyn steps forward shyly.
You have the most exquisite voice.
Thank you, dear. Do you perform?
Yes, I'm studying ballet.
You are?
Of course I am.
Barnum turns to Charity and beams.
My class will perform at the Met Gala this year.
Oh, what I would give to see that. I think you and I are going to be very good friends.
Carolyn glows. Barnum puts his arm around Charity. He has pulled off the impossible. Interior, the Barnum Arms Day. Barnum sits at a table as Philip runs in with the paper. Hot off the press. Barnum flips through it roughly, looking for the review. As he reads it, his expression goes from elation to dismay.
Jenny Lind's singing is both ethereal and transcendent, in the hands of a true purveyor of the arts. This would be a cause for celebration, but now we can only watch in dismay as the notorious P.T. Barnum inevitably turns her into one of his sideshow freaks. Next thing we know, she'll be sporting a beard. What is wrong with that man?
Like most critics, Roth just vents the bitterness over his own failures by attacking those who succeed. Just take comfort in the fact that every time you sell a ticket, a little part of him dies.
Well then, let's sell more tickets.
Exterior Castle Garden Theater night. Sounds of ecstatic applause, calls of brava and encore. Night after night, the sold-out sign is hung in the box office window. Interior Castle Garden Theater. Jenny's dressing room night. The room is crammed with well-heeled admirers and bouquets of flowers. Barnum glad hands people while Charity feigns interest. Jenny smiles politely, accepting accolades.
Mr. Barnum.
He turns to see the Winthrops in the doorway, slightly at sea. Mrs. Winthrop turns to her husband, who takes his cue.
Mr. Barnum, I must confess, I had my doubts, but this is a triumph. Well done, sir.
Barnum lights up, claps Winthrop on the back. It's taken a lifetime to get here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Winthrop.
Charity watches from across the room, somewhat concerned.
Do you suppose we might? That is,
Oh, you want to meet Miss Lind?
if it's not asking too much.
Not at all, not at all.
Barnum pulls them in the room, closes the door, but there's an immediate knock. Barnum opens the door again, expecting more swells. This time, however, it's Letty, Tom Thumb, O'Clancy, and all the rest of the oddities. They smile.
Mr. B, you think we could meet Miss Lind? Good Lord, that lady can sing.
Barnum wavers, looks back in the room at the Winthrops, Jenny, etc. He turns back and makes the wrong choice.
It's a bit crowded right now, Letty. Why don't you all just come back later?
The oddities are surprised and insulted. Before they can respond, Barnum has closed the door. Charity sees this and frowns as Barnum leads the Winthrops to Jenny. Dissolve to interior Barnum's Museum night. Tom Thumb sits playing the ukulele to the sold-out crowd. Letty sings Oddities, and a celebration of the self-acceptance that Barnum has given them, but somehow cannot give himself.
Why did God create me into such an oddity? Is it so wrong? I want to belong. There's got to be a purpose for me.
The other oddities appear on stage to harmonize.
Unusual is so beautiful. That is so indisputable. It ain't so wrong. You want to belong. You'll find in me that we're all oddities. Oddities.
On Barnum in the wings, watching the show with one eye, his pocket watch with the other. Finally, he grabs his coat.
We're the monsters. We're the freaks. We're the misfits. We're the freaks.
Exterior, Barnum's Museum, same. Barnum exits. On the sidewalk is a small crowd of protesters holding signs. Close the circus and no more freak show.
It ain't so wrong. We all belong to one family.
Barnum slows for a second. He's never seen these people. Then he climbs into a waiting carriage and it drives off. Interior, Castle Garden Theater, backstage hallway, night, same. Barnum finds Jenny signing autographs and greeting high society types in a backstage hallway. He attempts to mingle, but no one has any interest in him. He greets a couple who do not respond in kind. He himself is an oddity there.
And we're all oddities. Oddities. Oddities.
Exterior, New York Street, day. Anne, in her Sunday finest, window shops outside a clothing store. She goes to enter, only to have the door shut in her face. A sign is flipped from open to closed for lunch. She absorbs this indignity stoic and moves on. Across the street, Philip has seen this. His heart breaks for her.
It ain't so wrong. We all belong to one family.
Interior, Castle Garden Theater, backstage night. Barnum smiles and nods to a well-heeled couple who completely ignore him as they walk past. We intercut. The oddities, singing raucously, and then back to Barnum in the hallway. Trying to engage. People squeeze past, jostling as they try to get to Jenny Lind. Finally, he gives up. He turns and watches as the cream of New York society crowds around Jenny, showering her with the respect they will never give to him. Track in on Barnum alone as he stares at Jenny. She is the personification of everything he has ever wanted for himself. Then, in the midst of the crowd, she glances up and sees him watching her. She smiles at him with warmth and gratitude. He made all this come true. A connection across the room. Something stirs in Barnum, a consuming, almost pathological need for acceptance and adulation. He sees now he will never get there on his own. He needs Jenny Lind.
We're the monsters. We're the freaks. We're the misfits. We're the freaks.
Interior, Barnum's Museum, same. Back and forth between Barnum and the oddities wrapping up.
It ain't so wrong. We all belong to one family, and we're all
Oddities. Oddities.
The number ends and the crowd applauds wildly on their feet. Interior, Winter Garden Theater, backstage night. Barnum stares as Jenny chats with the Winthrops. Grimly determined, he moves forward to join the conversation. He puts on a smile as he joins them, bowing to Mrs. Winthrop and shaking Mr. Winthrop's hand. It's like shaking hands with the devil. And circus applause echoes. We cut to interior Winthrop Mansion night. Quiet. People mingle in the drawing room while Jenny stands beside the piano, greeting well-wishers. Barnum and Charity stand to one side, taking it all in. Charity asks quietly,
Simplest, oh, remind me why you agreed to a private recital for the Winthrops?
They asked.
Simple as that?
She smiles, wry. Barnum shrugs. She knows him too well. Charity looks across the room and gasps softly.
Oh my God.
Barnum follows her gaze to the older couple that has just entered, looking somewhat uncomfortable.
Is that?
My parents.
Charity makes eye contact with Mr. and Mrs. Hallett from across the room. Her mother offers an uncertain smile. Pre-lap, Jenny's singing. Interior Winthrop Mansion night a few minutes later. Jenny sings to the assembled guests, accompanied by a lone pianist. Carolyn sits between Barnum and Charity. Jenny singing epic love song. As Jenny sings, her eyes find Barnum's in the audience and rest there, like she's singing to him. Charity clocks the look between them warily. Barnum turns, surveys the audience, and listens raptly. He finally has an act they can't say no to. The song ends in applause. Carolyn, looking around at the reaction of her friends and parents, smiles and claps. As Jenny bows, Barnum joins her in the center of the room. He takes her hands and ceremoniously kisses her on each cheek.
Thank you all very much. And thank you, Miss Lind, for sharing your gift with us. You know, ladies and gentlemen, these days, I'm largely associated with elephants and acrobats and oddities.
Here he smiles and gets a bit of a chuckle from the crowd.
But to me, the noblest art is that of making others happy. And that applies to a circus of masses and virtuoso vocalists for you good people here.
Barnum pauses, on Caroline and Charity watching nervously.
No, don't. Don't, please don't.
I grew up not far from here. As a matter of fact, my father tended the lawns of some of your homes. So I never imagined I'd actually be an honored guest in one of them. or that I'd own the largest house in the neighborhood.
Charity closes her eyes in dismay.
Actually, I did imagine it. When you're born into poverty and treated with scorn because of it. Imagination is your only resource.
Mr. Hallett returns the glare angularly, feeling the eyes of the room suddenly on him. Abruptly, he stands and, taking his wife by the arm, exits the room, walking out in a huff. This is an act of social aggression intended to ostracize Barnum, and it works. The Winthrops look embarrassed. There are murmurs of disapproval. Judgmental eyes turn back to Barnum. Barnum, caught off guard, looks up and sees the pained expressions of Charity and Caroline. Awkwardly, he wraps up.
And right now, I'd imagine I've said a bit too much. Thank you for letting us entertain you. Good night.
Polite applause. Barnum looks towards Caroline, who is mortified. As he walks back to rejoin them, Caroline turns and walks away. Barnum is stung. Charity looks at him, sad and acerbic.
You still know how to charm my parents, don't you?
I don't worry about impressing your parents.
Clearly.
She follows Caroline off. Barnum is left alone. He gazes around the room, suddenly a social pariah again. His face hardens. The chip on his shoulder has just become huge. This is insanity! Interior Barnum's Museum, Barnum's Office Day. Close on a poster for the Jenny Lind tour. It is wildly extravagant. The 19th century version of Las Vegas. Barnum loves it. Philip is desperately trying to reason with him. A 90-piece orchestra? Custom sets? Indoor fireworks? No one's ever done anything like this.
Exactly. We're giving the world something they've never seen before.
With good reason. You've had to pay the theaters in advance. You've paid Jenny in advance. You won't see a penny of profit until the 40th show at least. You're risking everything you've built.
And how do you think I built it? By risking everything.
Philip flops down in a chair, anxious and overwhelmed.
Calm down, man. What are you eating?
Philip
What's eating you?
holds up a telegram. Miss Lynn's contract.
Isn't it done?
She won't sign. You're asking her to do 2 shows a night? She insists on 1. You've got to hold the line on this, PT. You're risking too much already.
I'll handle Miss Lind.
Barnum plucks the contract from Philip's fingers, grabs his hat, heads for the exit. Philip turns. Or will she handle you? But Barnum is already gone. Interior hotel dining room day. Barnum walks in to find Jenny finishing a lunch. He has the papers in his hand, looking serious. She sees him and smiles.
Mr. Barnum, to what do I owe this pleasure?
I received a draft of your contract.
Oh dear. Is something wrong?
Oh, not at all. It's just that I've booked each hall for 2 shows a night.
And I can only perform once.
Barnum is baffled by this. He strains to be polite.
Is there something else you will be doing for 23 hours?
Mr. Barnum, I'm not a cuckoo clock. To be perfect, my voice requires rest.
If it is just less than perfect, I assure you, no one will know the difference.
I will know the difference.
But you're not buying the tickets.
You told me you wanted the best for this tour, Mr. Barnum. Or was that humbug too?
Her challenge throws him. He struggles to control himself.
I am paying you top dollar.
This isn't about money.
What else could it be about?
She looks at him with affection. She's tacitly pleading with him to change himself and become respectable.
The question is simple, Mr. Barnum. Do you want to give your audience something real or just hoodwink them again?
Barnum half smiles. He sits next to her, shakes his head.
It's certainly easier to hoodwink them, not to mention more fun and profitable.
She looks at him. What kind of man is he? He nods. This is the price of respectability. He holds up the papers.
I'll have it changed before you leave.
You mean before we leave?
Sorry. He stops short. They look at each other, both surprised.
You don't think I'm going with you?
Why would you not?
I have business to run.
I don't know anyone in this country.
You'll meet people.
I need someone I can trust.
You can't trust me? I'm P.T. Barnum.
She laughs, letting her eyes linger. He meets her gaze. There's a connection here. She looks at him quizzical.
This tour will make your reputation. You will be the most famous man in America, but only if you show up.
She smiles at him. Don't you want that? As he wavers, at war with himself, finally he smiles and nods.
I'll see you on tour.
She smiles, squeezes his hand, then rises and walks out of the restaurant. Barnum looks up to see a waiter holding the check. He takes the check and sighs, outmaneuvered again. Exterior Barnum's Museum, dusk later. Philip walks out of Barnum's office, looking at artwork for the Jenny Lind tour. He is troubled and anxious. He stops. In the middle of the otherwise empty museum, Anne practices her acrobatic routine, spinning on a rope high up. She is graceful, beautiful, athletic. He gazes at her with longing. Muffled sounds of a ruckus outside. Philip turns and frowns. Exterior Barnum's Museum day. Philip steps outside. In front of the box office, a crowd of protesters are gathered behind a banner, League of Decency. They hold up signs, close the circus and protect our children. A man with a bullhorn is shouting.
Immoral, indecent, not fit for polite society, an insult for family values.
When they see him, the protesters erupt with catcalls and boos. Philip is taken aback by their jeers and angry faces. Anne joins him at the door, gazing out fearfully. They share a look. Bravely, Philip goes and confronts the bullhorn man. What's going on here?
We're shutting you down. Freaks belong in freak shows, not here. Send them back where they belong.
Sir, you have a right to protest, but you cannot block our ticket booth.
What are you going to do about it, boy?
He shoves Philip. Philip, not a fighting man, is stunned.
We don't want you here. You don't belong here. Go back where you came from.
Anne is incensed. She steps out, pointing at Mr. Bullhorn.
I'm from New York. I'm from right here.
Then you go back to where you belong. That's right. Go home. Go back to where you belong. Go back to Africa.
Anne is stung to the core, and I would be too. Philip sees this. She turns and retreats into the museum. He runs in after her. Barnum's museum night later. The giant space is empty, quiet. Anne sits on the edge of a trampoline, shaken and upset. Philip stands before her, holding her hand. They are in the middle of a heart-to-heart. He is courting her tenderly. She's sad and skeptical. You can't listen to them. Those people are hateful, ignorant. He tries to touch her face, but she pulls away, nervous.
Don't, please. We shouldn't even be here like this.
Why not? What's wrong with us being together? She smiles sadly. The question seems naive, quixotic.
It is dangerous.
Then let's live dangerously. I won't let those people dictate how I live.
It's not just them. Look at the world. Any time I step outside this building.
Oh, damn the world. If it's made up of fools, then that's their problem, not yours. She looks at him, heart melting. He leans in for a kiss. Anne leans to kiss him, then pulls away, scared and sad. He sees her unhappy reluctance. He must convince her. The music starts. Philip sings a love song with a driving beat. I really don't know this one. You know I want you. It's not a secret I try to hide. I know you want me, so I keep seeing our hands are tied. You claim it's not in the cards, and fate is pulling you miles away and out of reach from me. But you're here in my heart, so who can stop me if I decide that you're my destiny? She climbs the trapeze ladder, dives into the trampoline, then bounces and rotates elegantly in the air, landing directly in front of Philip. He pulls her into a dance. So what if we rewrite the stars? Say you were made to be mine. Nothing could keep us apart. You'd be the one I was meant to find. It's up to you and it's up to me. No one can say what we get to be. So why don't we rewrite the stars? Baby, the world could be ours tonight. Philip lets her go.
You think it's easy. You think I don't want to run to you. But there are mountains and there are doors that we can't walk through.
Philip starts up the ladder. He takes a blind leap, landing unsteadily on the trampoline. They dance again, closer now.
So how do we rewrite the stars? Say you were made to be mine. When everything keeps us apart, can you be the one I was meant to find? Is it up to you? Is it up to me? When everyone tells us what we can be, how do we rewrite the stars, changing the world to be ours tonight?
Philip grabs a low-hanging trapeze and they sit on it, swinging higher and higher. They drop off the trampoline and fall to the trampoline, where they lie together singing.
So how
do we
rewrite the
stars?
stars?
We were made to be mine. Nothing can
keep
keep
us
us apart. If you are the one I was meant to find. He helps her off the trampoline. They hold each other close. It's up to you, and it's up to me. No one can say what we get to be. So how do we rewrite the stars, changing the world to be ours tonight? As the song ends, they seem about to kiss, and she pulls back. Eyes filling with tears, she shakes her head. It can't work between them. She turns, walks away. He watches, heartbroken. Interior Bank, President's Office, Manhattan, dusk. Barnum sits with the bank president as a clerk enters with a sheaf of papers. He sets the papers down before Barnum.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I appreciate you're making this loan to me on short notice.
Usually we discourage using one's own home as collateral, but it's quite a lot you're borrowing for this tour.
Barnum hesitates, then signs the document.
Then let's keep this between us, if you don't mind. I don't want to worry Miss Barnum.
The banker nods, though he can't quite hide his concern. Interior Barnum Mansion, bedroom dawn. Barnum finishes packing his suitcase while Charity sits up in bed watching him.
I don't understand why you're leaving.
I just need to be there.
Why? What are we risking this time?
Just the usual.
This is true only technically. He is risking everything.
Then don't go. Don't go. I mean it.
This will be the biggest musical tour in the history of the country.
They'll do fine without you.
We're going to make millions.
We don't need millions.
He looks up at her as a tear runs down her face.
When is it going to be enough? I mean, what's the point of it all? Those two girls, this family. If you're never here.
I will be, as soon as the tour is over.
The tour will never be over.
That's ridiculous.
Is it? You don't need the whole world to love you, Finn. Just a few good people.
She stares at him, can feel him wavering.
Don't go, Finn. Please.
He considers, but he's not ready to hear everything she said.
I have to. I'm sorry.
Exterior train station day. Barnum has turned the kickoff of the tour into a 19th century media circus with an entire train commandeered and painted to advertise the event. Jenny Lind moves down the platform, surrounded by reporters and fans. Barnum kisses his girls goodbye. They cry and hug him. He turns to Charity, who is still cross. He kisses her cheek.
I'll be back as soon as I can.
She is unrelenting. The train whistles. He shrugs sadly, turns and heads to the train. Charity eyes Jenny Lind, blowing kisses to her fans. She watches Barnum disappear onto the train. We stay on Charity as she sings Tightrope, a song conveying her fears about Barnum leaving with Jenny.
Some people long for a life that is simple and planned, tied with a ribbon. Some people won't sail the sea because they're safer on land to follow what's written. But I'd follow you to the great unknown, off to a world we call our own.
Interior theater night. Jenny finishes singing on stage and basks in the loud applause and thrown flowers. Barnum stands in the wings, watching happily. She turns to smile at Barnum in the wings, who smiles back, elated at her reception.
Hand in my hand, and we promise to never let go. We're walking a tightrope.
Interior recital theater night. Caroline finishes a small ballet recital with her fellow ballerinas. They bow. In the audience of parents and friends, Charity and Helen applaud. Barnum is not there.
High in the sky, we can see the whole world down below. We're walking a tightrope.
Interior house late night. Charity walks through the giant house alone. Lonely, she dances by herself, imagining him there. On the floor, his shadow joins with hers, dancing, though her arms are empty.
Never sure, never know how far we could fall, but it's all an adventure that comes with a breathtaking view. Walking a tightrope with you, with you, with you.
Interior restaurant day. Barnum and Jenny are guests of honor at a huge dinner party in Chicago. The mayor raises a toast to Jenny. Jenny stands and bows graciously. Then she reaches for Barnum. He resists, but she coaxes him to his feet. Everyone applauds.
Mountains and valleys and all that will come in between. Desert and ocean, you pull me in, and together we're lost in a dream. Always in motion. So I risk it all just to be with you. And I risk it all for this life we choose.
Interior house night. At the Barnum house, Charity and the girls eat dinner. They're telling stories and laughing, but Charity can't help noticing Barnum's place at the table is conspicuously vacant.
Hand in hand, and we promise to never let go. We're walking a tightrope high in the sky. We can see the whole world down below.
Interior bookstore day. At a bookstore in Kansas City, Barnum signs copies of his latest autobiography. Jenny stands by his side, at one point resting her hand on his shoulder in an almost wifely pose.
We're walking a tightrope, never sure, but you'll catch me if I should fall.
Exterior bookstore New York day. In New York, Charity and the girls walk up the street in good spirits. They stop in front of a bookstore, surprised. Angle, Barnum's autobiography is on display under a sign, #1 bestseller next to the Bible. It's bittersweet for Caroline and Helen, a reminder of their absent father. Interior theater night. Another theater, another city. Jenny, now in a first stool, basks in yet another ecstatic response. Barnum watches from the wings. Then Jenny turns, extends a hand to him. Barnum, self-conscious, walks out and joins her, taking her hand. They bow together as the entire theater applauds. Flashbulbs pop, lighting them up together in a spotlight of fame. Interior house morning. Caroline, Charity, and Helen eat breakfast. Charity opens the newspaper and stops. There's a picture of Barnum and Jenny together on stage, bowing and holding hands. Exterior train night. The train whips through the countryside. Interior train night. Barnum sits next to Jenny, who looks out the window. Then she turns and catches his eye, offering a vulnerable smile. He smiles back, reassuring. Jenny closes her eyes, leans her head against his shoulder. Barnum lets her.
And it's all an adventure that comes with a breathtaking view. Walking a tightrope with you. With you.
Interior Cincinnati hotel suite day. Jenny opens the door and lets Barnum into her hotel suite. Blech. Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. That's not my line.
Good
He
afternoon,
sweeps
Miss
as if
Lind.
walking on air, high-spirited and elated.
Good afternoon, Miss Lind.
Mr. Barnum, don't be shy. Come in.
I don't know if I had a chance to see the review in today's paper.
He holds up a folded newspaper. She plucks it with a self-mocking smile, turns and leads him into the living room.
Oh, I never read reviews.
Neither do I. And yet here we are.
Here we are. Did they have anything kind to say?
He plucks the paper back out of her hand and reads from it as Jenny sits on the couch and pours 2 glasses of wine.
Miss Lind is a virtuoso, the diva of her generation. Her beauty surpassed only by talent.
He smiles, offers her the paper. She takes it and scans it quickly. Finding something, she smiles, reading aloud.
In bringing Miss Lind to our shores, we owe Mr. Barnum our most humble gratitude. The erstwhile showman and one-time prince of humbug has transformed himself into a patron of the arts and a connoisseur of the highest order.
She looks up, happy for him. He's a bit embarrassed by how much this anonymous praise means to him. He shrugs.
You dream and dream, and one day it comes true.
It's touching. He's almost like a little boy. She stands and hands him a glass of wine.
It's what you do. Make dreams come true.
She clinks his glass, taking a sip. Suddenly, he sees where this is going. He wavers, torn between staying with her and leaving. Then he takes a quick sip and checks his watch.
Well, 2 hours to curtain. I'm due at the box office to go through receipts.
Stay for a moment, please. I've been alone all day.
She sits on the sofa primly. He relents and sits beside her.
Of course.
She looks down, staring at her drink, and laughs to herself.
What are you laughing at?
She shakes her head, keeps her eyes on the wine glass.
When I first met you, I didn't know what to think. You were so unrefined, unembarrassed, so vital and unafraid.
And what do you think of me now?
She gazes down, unable to meet his eyes.
You have surprised the world, Mr. Barnum. And you have surprised me.
She takes his hand. He lets her. Quietly, she confesses.
You've taken me in, stolen my heart. You've become everything to me.
She looks up at him. She is his. She leans towards him. There is no denying her beauty or the emotion in her eyes. All he has to do is lean forward, and for a moment he is tempted. But then, just as it seems they will kiss,
I must go home.
he pulls away, gets to his feet. Jenny is stunned, mortified.
Phineas,
I've stayed too long. I can't be away from my family anymore. I'm wasting time here.
He immediately knows it came out wrong. Jenny turns away, stung. Barnum backtracks quickly and nervously.
What I meant to say is, Mr. Bennett has the itinerary well in hand. I'm not serving any real purpose here. I'm going home tomorrow. Please, tell me you'll go on without me. You must finish the tour.
She looks at him as if seeing him for the first time.
is that all? Do I mean nothing to you?
He can't answer. Jenny turns away, hiding her hurt.
Of course. Go home to your wife.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much.
He starts to leave, then looks at her, kindly, with regret.
If I have misrepresented my intentions towards you in any way, I'm sorry.
She nods and turns towards him, putting on a brave face.
You'll come tonight, yes? One last show?
I wouldn't miss it.
Barnum leaves. Jenny watches the door, wiping away a single tear. Her expression hardens as she looks in the mirror. Interior Cincinnati Theater, staged night later. Yet another audience is on his feet. Jenny takes her bow.
Oh, encore!
Jenny finds Barnum in the wings and summons him out. He resists, but she is insistent. Finally, he steps out and bows with her. She takes his hand and raises it with hers. A number of camera flashes go off from the photographers positioned in front of the stage. Jenny takes note of the photographer and then suddenly grabs Barnum and kisses him full on the lips. In the darkness, the flashes continue. Barnum pulls back in shock. She smiles at him sadly.
What was that?
Goodbye.
Interior Barnum's Museum Night. The musical finale features most of the oddities, including Tom, Letty, Chang and Eng, and the Lord of the Leads. They are joined by Anne and some acrobats. They slowly become aware of a disturbance in the audience.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
In the back of the hall, a group of the protesters we've seen outside earlier are causing a disturbance. Oddities begin to falter, unsure of themselves. They look to the wings where Philip stands in Barnum's place. He nods, giving them a reassuring signal. The show must go on. You're all freaks!
We don't want your freak show here.
Go back where you belong.
On stage, the troupe stops. Protesters shout in unison.
Shut it down! Shut it
Shut it
down!
down! The whole show has been disrupted. Philip leaves the wings and waves protectively to the performers. Stand back! Stand back! They retreat. He steps forward, addressing the protesters. Gentlemen, please, either quiet down or I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Yeah, boy? What are you gonna make us?
No, I will. Philip turns to see WD, pissed, come out and join him. On Anne, clocking her brother's defense of Philip. Protester 1, challenged, looks to his Confederates. In unison, they charge into the ring, attacking WD. He flattens the first protester with a right hook. The others jump him. WD takes them all on, but he's outnumbered. Philip throws himself into the fight, pulling protesters off WD. A melee breaks out, WD and Philip putting on a good fight, but clearly outmatched. The audience cries out and retreats from the rings, clutching children protectively. The show is a shambles. The protesters have succeeded. They shut the circus down. Feeling triumphant, they pump their fists and head to the exit, leaving Philip and WD battered but unbroken. They all retreat into the lobby area, where the gang of protesters suddenly stop, startled to see a platoon of circus performers, 20 strong at least, not just oddities, jugglers and acrobats. Standing at the front, glaring, are Letty, Tom Thumb, O'Clancy, etc.
You boys don't like the circus? We don't like you either.
The performers attack. They outnumber the protesters, and being circus performers, some of them are freakishly strong. In no time at all, the gang is left in a pile on the floor.
You want more of this, fellas? I got plenty to go around.
The protesters scramble and quickly retreat. At the door, a beaten protester sees an oil lantern hanging on the wall. He picks it up, turns, and throws it spitefully onto a bed of feeding hay. The lantern breaks and the hay catches fire. It spreads to curtains. Suddenly, there are fires spreading everywhere. The performers rush to try and put them out. The protesters share a wicked grin and retreat into the night, and they can all step on a Lego for a year. That's not okay. Interior train platform night. Barnum steps off the platform carrying a suitcase. He looks around. No one greets him. Then the crowd parts. He sees Charity standing there. Caroline and Helen are with her. They look at him, tentative. He's almost a stranger. He puts down his suitcase, goes quickly to them, and embraces her. The girls hug him too. He kisses her. She's surprised.
So what made you come rushing home all of a sudden?
I missed you.
She smiles slyly, affectionate, exasperated, suspicious.
That sounds an awful lot like humbug.
Exterior train station night. Barnum, Charity, Caroline, and Helen step outside. Caroline, a teen, is reserved. Barnum hugs her anyway and smiles.
Oh, and how is your ballet going?
We're practicing every day now. The recital is next month.
Suddenly, a fire wagon races by. Soon another follows. Barnum turns, sees a young policeman running up the street.
What's going on?
You're muted.
Your place, Mr. Barnum, it's burning down!
Barnum turns to Charity and the girls. He drops his suitcase and they all start to run. Exterior Barnum's Museum night. The building is on fire. Flames and smoke pour from the windows. Barnum and Charity and the girls arrive just as Anne and WD emerge from the building, helping usher out Letty, Tom Thung, Chang Eng, and the rest of the oddities.
Where's Philip?
Inside! The animals are still in cages!
Barnum hears the panicked roar of an elephant. He turns and runs into the building. WD and Anne follow him in. Interior Barnum's Museum night. The place is filled with smoke. Barnum passes wax figures of Napoleon, Marie Antoinette, George Washington, all melting. He finds Philip at the elephant cage struggling with a ring of skeleton keys. He looks up, sees Barnum approach.
Thanks for looking after things.
I can't find the key! Barnum grabs an axe and smashes the padlock. It busts open. He swings the cage door open and exterior Barnum Museum back alley night continuous. Eunice thunders into the alley to safety. Interior Barnum's Museum night continuous. Barnum, Philip, and WD hurry to throw open the doors to the horse stables. One by one, the horses bolt to safety. Anne opens the lion's cage. It roars at her fearsomely. She glares at it, raises a finger. The lion bows its head meekly. Anne waves her finger. Let's go. They leave together. Exterior Barnum's Museum night. Barnum, Philip, and WD watch as the last horses exit the building. Philip looks down, doesn't see Anne, turns to Barnum. I'm gonna go find Anne! He runs back into the building before Barnum can stop him. The oddities take refuge at a distance. Caroline glances over, noticing Letty nursing a cut on her wrist.
Oh, Letty, you're hurt!
She takes out a lace handkerchief, wraps it like a bandage.
No, don't ruin it.
But it's too late. Caroline ties off the handkerchief.
Aw, you're a true beauty, kid. So are you.
They share a smile. A fire truck arrives. Firemen jump from the truck. Just in time, just then a section of the roof falls, sending embers into the sky. The entire building is now engulfed in flames. Anne comes out with the lion. An animal trainer quickly steps up and leads the lion away. Barnum rushes up.
Where's Philip?
Wait, you didn't see him?
Anne looks back in panic. She starts to run towards the building, but Barnum grabs her. He hands her off to WD.
Keep her here.
Anne struggles in WD's arms, then collapses into his chest. Charity, Caroline, and Helen watch in horror and disbelief as Barnum turns and runs back towards the burning building.
Hey, you can't go in there!
Daddy!
She watches terrified as Barnum runs into the building. Interior Barnum's Museum continuous. Barnum holds his shirt over his mouth, calling out for Philip as he moves through the intense heat. A beam, engulfed in flames, come crashing down behind him. Exterior Barnum's Museum continuous. Charity, Caroline, Helen, Anne, WD, and all of the oddities watch the building in silence as the flames devour it. Then, through the smoke, a figure. Barnum emerges carrying Philip unconscious in his arms. Sorry. As soon as they're clear, Barnum collapses to his knees, lays Philip on the ground. Anne runs to Philip. Charity, Caroline, and Helen descend on Barnum, hugging him.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
He stands up and turns. His family gathers around him, somber. The performers, oddities, acrobats, and trainers, Barnum's whole work family, gather around him as well. Together they stand and watch as the building, his life's work, burns up. Barnum turns to Charity.
Take the girls home. It's gonna be a long night.
Charity nods. Barnum turns to see a team of firefighters lift Philip's limp body and carry him towards the fire truck. Interior hospital night later. Philip is laid into a hospital bed by 2 doctors. He is unconscious, dressed in bandages. The room is large, with rows of beds. As the doctors turn to leave, Anne steps forward at his side, looks down, eyes full of tears. A nurse, white, takes her arm, trying to usher her away.
Miss, you don't belong in here.
Anne turns on her, knocking her hand away. The nurse recoils. She sees the hurt and anger in Anne's eyes. Prim and disapproving, she turns and, bustles away. I just realized that's more of a huh. Anne turns back, sits down next to Philip. His hand lies open as if reaching out to her. She looks around self-conscious, then reaches forward and takes his hand. Exterior Barnum's Museum, dawn. Burnt debris blankets the property. Barnum surveys the smoking shell of his building. Barnum falls into a sitting position, spent, gazes at the damage around him, devastated. Behind him, a lone figure approaches down the empty street, Roth. He arrives to find Barnum, dirty with soot, gazing at the ruins of his museum. Barnum glances up darkly.
If you're here to gloat, I'd reconsider.
Roth takes out a handkerchief and wipes down a charred wooden chair before sitting down beside Barnum.
The police caught the folks who started the fire. Just thought you would like to know.
Roth pulls out a flask, offers it. Barnum looks at him warily.
Come on. You look like you could use it.
Barnum relents, takes a swig, hands it back. Roth smiles, takes another quick nip before he pockets the flask.
You'll rebuild, I hope.
Barnum looks at him, surprised.
You hate the circus.
I did at first. It's everything a critic is supposed to hate. Big, obvious, enjoyable, fun. But when they started protesting, I had to reconsider. What was going on inside these 4 walls? Was democracy at its finest, a celebration of humanity in every form, big, small, bearded, whatever. And that scares people. That's why they burned you down. It may not be art, but it's definitely lowbrow. But it ain't humbug.
Barnum smiles. This is something he never expected to hear.
Thank God for Jenny's tour. Can I borrow off of the profits and rebuild?
The tour? My God, you don't know.
Roth reaches into his bag and hands Barnum a morning paper.
I'm sorry. I thought you knew.
On the front page, a photo of The Kiss is framed by a heart, lurid as any modern tabloid. The headline reads, Barnum Scandal. Jenny Lind quits U.S. tour. Sails today for Sweden. Barnum's face falls. It's his worst nightmare. Exterior New York Harbor Dock Day. A crowd of fans and press have gathered to see Jenny Lind depart. A line of porters ascend the gangplank onto an ocean liner. Jenny signs one last autograph, smiles for pictures, then she steps onto the gangplank, follows the porters up. A noise. She turns. It's Barnum running up the dock.
Stop! Stop! Stop right there!
He runs up the gangplank to her. She's breathing hard, red-faced, furious. She is cool as ice.
You cannot leave. There are 40 cities left in your tour. If you break our contract, I will sue you. I will sue you for everything that you are worth.
You've seen the papers this morning.
That has nothing to do with our contract.
Indeed, it does, Mr. Barnum. Our contract has a morals clause, which you have broken with your reckless display. My reputation has suffered irreparable harm. You should be glad I'm not suing you.
On Barnum, as he absorbs the full extent of her calculations, the wind goes out of him. He looks up at her, going quiet.
Jenny, please. You can't leave. Risked everything on this tour.
As did I, Phineas. Seems we both lost.
There is terrible sadness in her eyes. She turns to go.
Jenny, don't! I'll lose the circus! I'll lose my home! You will ruin me!
That's what I want.
He is stunned by her cruelty. She sees this and softens, looking at him with hurt, regret, longing, anger, and spite.
When you are careless with other people, Mr. Barnum, you bring ruin on yourself.
Then she turns, walks up the gangplank. He can't stop her. Interior New York Bank day. Barnum bursts in, desperate, wild-eyed. The banker looks up calmly, unsurprised. Barnum walks urgently towards him.
Ah, Mr. Barnum, we've been expecting you.
My house. Please, just give me a chance to raise money elsewhere.
You are too late. We foreclosed this morning.
Barnum is speechless. The banker is sad, sympathetic.
If you gamble enough time, sir, you are fated one day to lose.
Exterior Hallett's house day. Barnum's carriage pulls up in front of the house. He gets out, sees Charity carrying a last suitcase into the house. He runs after her, following her up onto the front porch.
Charity?
I don't want to talk to you.
Come on, Charity, nothing happened.
As he gets close, she throws the afternoon paper at him.
Oh, something happened. It's on the front page of every paper in New York.
She orchestrated the photos so she could quit. She orchestrated the photos so she could quit the tour. I'm not in love with her.
Oh, of course you're not. Not with her. Not with me. Not with anyone. Oh, just you and your show.
Barnum is stung. She turns, eyes brimming with hurt. She gestures to the trunks and suitcases strewn on the lawn.
They evicted us this morning. Just showed up and said our house was no longer ours.
I know. I just came back from the bank.
She starts to cry. Barnum is stricken to see her so hurt.
Oh, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you talk to me before risking everything?
Charity, I will get the house back.
No, please. No more promises. I married you, not the house, not the money, you. You saw the magic in the world, and I wanted to live in that world with you.
She looks at him, her eyes search his.
You used to think you weren't enough for me, remember? Now we're not enough for you. Nothing is.
She turns and enters the house, slamming the door. Barnum stares. For once, he has nothing to say. Music starts under. Exterior street, Bethel, Connecticut, dusk. Barnum trudges up the road. He stops and looks at the family mansion, dark and desolate now with a for sale sign.
I close my eyes and I can see a girl was waiting here for me. Now I'm all alone.
Oh, sorry. Interior Barnum Mansion night. Barnum stands in the vast empty house. He gazes around, trying to conjure a better reality, but his imagination is gone.
Through the dark, through the door, try to go back to before, where it felt like home. Now I know that I've been crazy. Now I know that I've lost my mind. And all these millions of dreams I chased were crazy. You were more than a million dreams combined.
Barnum breaks down and starts to cry. Music ends and we fade out. Interior the Barnum Arms night. Barnum sits alone at the bar, his hat in front of him beside his drink. He stares at mementos on the wall, reminders of everything he's lost. The door opens and we see Tom Thumb.
I figured you'd end up here.
He climbs straight onto the bar and walks down it towards Barnum, carrying the Prince of Humbug crown in his hand.
If you've come here to get paid, I'm sorry. The money's gone. All of it.
How about you buy me a drink and we'll call it even?
He puts the crown on Barnum's head and sits on Barnum's hat. Barnum takes off the crown, puts it on the hat, and stares at it.
Lost your kingdom, huh?
Someone once said, love your enemies.
because they will tell the truth.
And what's the truth?
Barnum unfolds a Tribune with the Barnum Scandal headline.
That I'm a fraud, charlatan, coarse, vulgar, borderline criminal.
Geez, you say that like it's a bad thing.
That's the good part. Underneath that, I'm nothing. Barely human. Freak.
Hearing that word, Tom smiles, amused. He leans in.
You know, a very unwise man once said to me, "Be proud of who you are."
Barnum has to smile. Tom looks up, waves, and calls out,
Hey, I found him. Taloa, he'd be in here.
"Told ya." Barnum looks down the bar and sees Letty, Chang and Ang, the Lord of Leeds, and other performers filing in. They are smiling and relieved, happy to see Barnum. Tom turns back.
That's right, Barnum. You're a freak, a weirdo. You don't fit in. Welcome to the human race.
The oddities crowd around Barnum in a show of support and gratitude. Tom leans in, heated. All joking ceases.
My mother kept me locked in the back room for years because she was ashamed of me. It was like that for all of us. But you pushed us into the spotlight. You told the world stories that made them love us. You made us into a family. Your humbug gave us a home, Barnum, and we want it back.
Barnum is deeply moved. Music plays under as he looks at Tom, determination spreading across his face. You better believe he'll rebuild his circus. Barnum begins to sing.
I saw the sun begin to dim, and felt that winter wind blow cold. A man learns who is there for him, and the glitter fades and the walls won't hold. 'Cause from that rubble, what remains can only be what's true. If all was lost, there's more I gained, 'cause it led me back to you. From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. From now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight. And let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on. From now on.
Exterior New York City, carriage day. Barnum rides north out of Manhattan in a carriage.
I drink champagnes with kings and queens. The politicians praised my name. But those were someone else's dreams, the pitfalls of the man I became. For years and years I chased at cheers at a crazy speed of always needing more.
Exterior Hallett's house, Bethel, Connecticut, day. Barnum stands at a distance from the house, watching as Charity and their daughters head into her childhood home.
But when I stop and see you here, I remember who all this was for. And from now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. And from now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight. And let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on. From now on.
The music quiets but continues under. Interior hospital room, day. The dim, quiet hospital room. Curtains drawn. Philip lies in bed, still unconscious. Anne sits next to him, bent over with exhaustion, head bowed, but still holding his hand. In the background, doctors and nurses quietly do their rounds. Close on his hand, gently it twitches, grasping hers. She raises her head, disbelieving. She clutches his hand, squeezing. He stirs, then his eyes open. He sees her. You're here. A tear falls down her cheek.
Here is where I belong.
They share a tearful smile. A passing nurse notices he's awake and waves to others. A handful of doctors and nurses gather at the foot of the bed. She leans in and kisses him on the lips, unafraid and unashamed. He wraps his arms around her, kissing her back. Interior, Charity's house, Bethel, Connecticut, day. The music rises briefly, but continues under as Barnum strides up the front walk in a mirror of the elopement scene. As he steps up onto the porch, Mr. Hallett opens the front door, looks at Barnum with withering disdain.
Mr. Hallett, it seems that I am penniless. It seems I am the penniless bum you always said I was. But I am in love with your daughter. And if you don't mind, I'd like to see my wife.
She's not here.
Mr. Hallett moves to close the door, but Barnum stops him.
Where is she?
She doesn't want to see you.
Where is she?
Hallett moves again to shut the door. Barnum blocks him.
She's at the beach.
They turn. Carolyn and Helen are at the top of the stairs. He smiles. They smile back. He nods. Thank you. Turns. Exterior beach, sunset, dusk. Silence. Charity gazes out at the wintry surf. She's lost, sad, lonely. The beach is familiar. It's where they played as kids. Then something catches her eye. She turns. In the distance, Barnum walks towards her. His stride is purposeful, but he is a man stripped bare. No cockiness or pride, no dazzle or glitz. He is a man at the end of a very long journey, whose prize is finally in sight. She's taken aback. She's never seen him like this. As he draws closer, she can see the pain and sorrow in his eyes. As they meet, he stops short, not wanting to say the wrong thing, but his eyes betray how desperately he wants her back.
Carolyn was kind enough to tell me where you were.
She nods but says nothing, watching him warily. Barnum looks away, vulnerable. He falters, searching for the right words.
I have brought hardship on myself and visited pain upon those I cherish most dearly. You warned me of my folly, and I would not listen.
Music starts under. He keeps his eyes averted, downcast.
If you have no warmth in your heart for me, say the word, and I'll never trouble you again. But if the case is otherwise, then you should know that I am yours, body and soul. It is your smile, your laughter, that has been my guiding star. Without it, the rest is dust and ashes. I know that now.
Her eyes fill with tears. He looks at her with yearning.
For years and years I chased at shears, a crazy speed of always needing more.
He takes her hand. She draws close to him.
But when I stop and see you here, I remember who all this was for. From now on.
Charity hugs him, touching her forehead to his. A quiet moment. They are intimate again. He confesses in a whisper.
I wanted to be better than who I was, and I lost my way.
Charity reaches for his face and lifts it to face hers.
I never wanted anything but you, the man I fell in love with.
Barnum's eyes fill with tears. He's got her back.
That is the man I will be. From now on. Charity.
Oh, stop selling already and kiss me.
They kiss. Exterior Bank, Manhattan, day. Barnum steps out of the bank, loosening his tie. Did they say no? Barnum looks up to see Philip, now fully recovered, joining him. Barnum offers a small smile. Glad to see him.
Empathetically, repeatedly. I used to thrive on rejection. Educated men sitting behind desks telling me what I can't do. But after 20 or 30 times, it starts to wear a fellow down.
He sits on the bank steps, worn out, losing hope.
I don't think there's a single sucker in this country that I can fool into giving me money anymore.
Philip sits next to him, calm and philosophical. You know, Barnum, when I first met you, I had an inheritance. I had a claim, I had invitations to every party in town. And now, thanks to you, that's gone. Barnum looks at him. Where is this going? All that's left now is friendship, my love with Anne, and work I adore. So thanks a lot, Barnum. You brought joy into my life where there was none before. It's the one thing you're really good at.
Yes. Unfortunately, banks don't accept joy as Corto.
Still, there's a few suckers out there. Barnum looks at him. What does that mean? Philip grins. I own 10% of the show, remember? I've been taking my cut every week. If it helps, I got about 12,000 stashed away. Barnum looks at Philip surprised. He grins.
But I can't let you gamble it on me.
Oh, come on. Has there ever been a man in this country who's created so much out of sheer imagination? It's not a gamble. Barnum smiles. Philip puts out his hand.
Partners?
Beat. Barnum takes his hand and they shake. They stand up. You know, it's not enough to build a new building.
Oh, we don't need a new building. I can get land down by the docks for nothing. What we really need is a tent. A big one. Colorful and festive. That will make you stop and want to see what's inside.
Philip grins. As they walk off, Barnum puts his arms around him, spinning his latest vision.
The great thing about a tent is when you're done with it, you can take it down, pack it up, take it on the road. Don't you see? With a tent, we can go anywhere. Why, the world itself becomes our home.
It's good to have you back, PT. Pre-lap music. Exterior Brooklyn Riverbank day. A sledgehammer hits a metal stake, driving it deep into the ground. We widen to find dozens of workers across the field. Barnum pitches in, sleeves rolled, honest sweat on his brow. Philip picks up a sledgehammer and joins the others.
Oh yeah. From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. And from now on, what waited till tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight, and let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now on, from now on.
And we will come back home again. And we will come back home again. And we will come back home again. And we will come back home again.
And we will come back home again.
Music ends. Exterior Brooklyn Riverbank day. Philip and Anne are married on a Sunday morning. Except for WD, both families have boycotted the ceremony. But the bride and groom are surrounded by their adopted family of circus performers, with Carolyn and Helen as flower girls and Barnum and Charity bearing witness. Exterior Brooklyn Riverbank dusk. The glorious tent, the first, is pitched and ready to go. The attractions are all here, as well as dozens of animals and trainers and other crew. The anticipation is palpable. The sun sets and dozens of carbon arc lamps blast on, bathing the circus in a warm glow. We cut to exterior Brooklyn Riverbank dusk later. Barnum stands watching as, in the distance, crowds stream into the tent. Philip walks up and joins him. Barnum turns.
I have a job for you.
Thought I had a job.
The circus has 3 rings now. There's a lot happening. We need a master of ceremonies to guide the audience.
He takes off his top hat, hands it over. A drum begins under.
Congratulations. You're the ringmaster.
But I'm not a performer.
Everyone's got an act, Mr. Carlyle.
Philip smiles, recalling the first words Anne said to him.
I do it myself, but I plan on being busy.
Doing what?
Watching my girls grow up.
Interior circus tent dusk. We return to Barnum's reverie from the opening of the movie. Barnum gazes at the crowd, taking in the joy and excitement all around him. The sound fades. In a wistful moment, he sings to himself about the long road it took to get here.
If it weren't for the darkness that falls every night, how would we know
that the sun gives us light.
Barnum watches proudly as Philip puts on his top hat, then steps into the rings. The new ringmaster. Sound returns. Barnum checks his pocket watch, then turns. Eunice the elephant is held by a trainer at the edge of the tent. Exterior 5th Avenue, dusk. Barnum rides Eunice down 5th Avenue, drawing stares and gawkers. Kids run alongside, thrilled to see an elephant. Exterior Metropolitan Museum of Art, dusk. Charity, Caroline, and Helen wait on the steps of the Met. Caroline wears a tutu under her coat. Around them, parents and young ballerinas climb the stairs and stream into the museum entrance. A small banner reads, Metropolitan Annual Ballet Recital. Charity checks a distant tower clock. Helen sees something and points. They all react with disbelief. Angle. Barnum rides Eunice up towards the Met steps.
We never lose our way if we didn't dare to roam. To wander from the path, that's how you know you're home.
Helen giggles. Charity smiles, shaking her head. Caroline hides her face in her hands, but she's laughing. She has accepted Barnum for who he is, grand gestures and all. Interior circus tent, dusk. Philip stands in the center ring and gazes in wonder as the circus goes full throttle around him. He turns to Anne and sings. She smiles affectionately at her new husband. You make me real, make me feel I'm alive.
Love can reveal every reason to survive.
He puts an arm around her. She wraps her arms around him. Exterior Metropolitan Museum of Art, dusk. Barnum slides down Eunice's trunk, hands a leash to a startled young ballet. He strides up to his family.
Without you, all the riches in the world would add up to none. Without you, all the things we love to do aren't half as fun.
They hug him, then turn and sing together.
All the wonders in the world, all the ones we've yet to view, wouldn't be so wonderful if it weren't for you.
Barnum, his arms around his wife and daughters, turn and walk up the museum steps together. Exterior circus tent night 2015. The big top, lit within, stands on the Brooklyn shore. Music plays under as we hear the crowd applaud inside the tent. We crane up, rising high, as fireworks explode across the sky. We circle around to see across the river is the contemporary skyline of Manhattan. Barnum's legacy still stands, more than a century later, as the greatest show on earth. Fade to black, title card. The noblest art is that of making others happy. P.T. Barnum.
Woo!
Oh, we're done. It is like incredibly late where I am. So.
I think you have all made many people happy.
We have that going for us.
Yes.
The singing wasn't perfect, but I thought I'd give it a try.
Good job. And it was a great show.
At least you tried. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's
And
huge.
for only hearing Rewrite the Stars like 20 minutes before I sang it, I mean, that wasn't bad. So
Oh, you did great.
thank you.
All of you. All right, since Jack's mentioned how late it is and he probably has to run off. Yes. Bounce like Tigger. We'll all do our outros. And then if anyone wants to talk, we can. If not, we all say goodnight. All right. First, Jack, go for it.
Okay, so my name is Jack Loney. You can find me on YouTube as VA Jack Loney or Loney VA Jack. Should be on Table Tuesday's profile of channels listed. And if you want to like see some like old home movies I made, you can go to JackToon link. And for social medias, there's Loney.Jack on Instagram and just Jack Loney on Facebook. You'll probably find them either way just by typing them in. Anyways, been having fun, but now I should probably get to bed once everyone's done with their outros or whatever.
Sounds great. It was definitely lots of fun. And now, Angelina Peterson.
Hi, I'm Angelina, and you can find me here mostly. That's about it.
Okay, we'll look for you here every week. And Heather Lee Cameron.
Hello, my name is Heather Lee Cameron. I'm an actor, I'm a writer, and I'm a creative freelancer. You can find me on Facebook at Heather Lee Freelancer, or you can find me on YouTube at The Storm and Latter-day Saint. The most recent thing of mine that came out, I was in a play earlier this spring through Monroe County Civic Theater. It was done over Zoom, and it was released as an audio play. I put a link to it on my Instagram, Heather Lee Cameron, and it is called Shakespeare's Richard II, an audio play in 2 sections, and there's a link to it on Instagram. But the play itself can be found at www.mcct.org.
Awesome. Congrats.
And yes, thank you. And anyone who's interested in hiring me for work, because the play is really well, like the audio in the play is really, really well done. So I am actively looking for voice work or acting work of any kind, or writing work even. But anybody who's interested in hiring me can contact me at heather.lee.cameron@gmail.com. And I've got reels, resume, headshots, anything you need.
Awesomeness. And Petra Stedman.
Hi. Mainly findable either here or at Petra Stedman on Twitter. I don't know if anybody would actually hire me, but it's certainly interesting if anybody does. Feel free to hit me up or over there. And if not, I don't know, come back and watch whatever craziness we get up to next time. I'm having a lot of fun with this amazing, incredibly talented group of people, including our own purveyor of imagination, Mr. Jack Loney. It was a wonderful getting to work with you for the first time. So looking forward to that again. Thank you.
Thanks. Hopefully sometime in the future.
Didn't know it was your 2 first time working together. Awesome. More to come. And before we go, Vicky, thank you for blessing us with the charity of giving of your presence.
Thank you for letting me be Queen Victoria. That was really fun. I'm Vicky Dykes. I'm an actress in Central Alberta. And if you want to contact me, I'm on Facebook, Vicky Dykes. I'm also on Instagram. I'm YogaGrandma7. And yeah, I'm available. So if you want to chat with me, I'm also on emails, vdykes@shaw.ca.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that concludes the table read portion of tonight. So Jack, thank you for joining us. Anyone else that has to leave, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you soon.
Hope to see you whenever I come back to the next one. Bye and good night.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
All right, it looks like Angelina has to go too, or is that saying bye to Jack?
I was saying goodbye to Jack, but we might have to. It's very soon too.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
All right. So, and hi, MK. So, Vicky, you said you saw this. Petra, Heather, I think you said you haven't seen it, and neither have you.
No, I haven't seen most of the films we do, but I enjoyed putting a spin on them.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. I watched it years ago, I think, about when it came out, and then I watched it again yesterday while doing casting. And so we'll see what thoughts you had, Vicky, on it, and you guys from not seeing the movie, what you thought. But one thing I noticed is a lot of changes from the script and the movie.
Okay.
And I know lots of times the screenwriters, people writing things at first, like they don't want anyone to make changes, and I don't know who caused the changes or why, but most of them I like, and I think were good changes, and it's better in the movie than on the page at this draft. So that was my thoughts. What do you think, Vicky? Anything that you noticed that stood out?
Amazing, the differences. I mean, starting off with the fact that Barnum's dad, he was a tailor in the movie, and here he is, he's a gardener. Like, it just starts right off the bat. You know, and that's how Barnum introduces himself to Charity, is she's being taught how to drink tea, and he's fooling around with his cup that holds the pins, and he goes to take a pretend sip, and there's this piece of paper sticking out of his mouth, and she spits tea all over the place, and Dad goes stupid. Like, what a difference.
Right.
So yeah, and I agree with you. I think the changes were good. I mean, it's such a solid movie.
Yeah. And there were some things when reading the script, I'm surprised how also noticing all the changes that other things are so exactly the same and right on. Like even they say certain things that are happening, and then they say in the music line, and then they show what's happening in the music, and I'm like, that's almost exactly the same as in the movie. So there's some things were so well preserved as is, and other things have changed so much. It's crazy.
Oh, cool.
But
I do one
Yeah.
piece of I do know that I think this movie took something like a decade to get made, because from the time that the script was first written, I mean, the one that we were working on was a much different draft than what was originally done, but something like writing of the original draft and shopping it around to actual getting the project funded and getting the film completed and everything like that, something like 9 years. And a song that actually is not in this version of the script or any versions of the script until the last one, because they wrote it on the meeting to pitch, was the This Is Me one that was used in like all of the ads. I think it was was that the one that was nominated for an Oscar?
I don't know. I know they won a lot of awards for a lot of them.
There's a song that all of everybody sings it, and it mostly focuses on Keala Settle, the one who played the bearded lady. Mm-hmm. And I remember that she actually ended up getting cast off her work on a Broadway or off-Broadway play called Hands on a Hard Body, which is not as naughty as it sounds. It's about people doing one of those contests where you leave your hands on a truck to see how long, whoever has their hands on it last. And it's actually kind of devastating because she has this really cool gospel character in the play. I'm getting sidetracked for a second, but it's actually great because, like, in order to get her spirits up, they start, like, kind of encouraging her to sing. And she gets so into it that she, like, goes and hallelujah and takes her hands off the truck. And it's like, no! But yeah, as a result of her, I think getting a nomination for that play, they knew about, like, her chops and everything, and they ended up casting her for this one. I think I read somewhere, although this may be not correct, that, like, I think Queen Latifah was the other person that they really, really kind of wrote the character in mind for. I'm like, interesting, intriguing. I kind of see where you were going with that, but I think Keala was a fantastic choice. But yeah, it's like you gotta love that, like, P.T. Barnum was basically the creator of the modern spectacle as we know. I mean, you'd had crazy performances, and, like, I mean, they even mentioned, like, the circuses of Rome, which were basically literal death traps and entertainment by force. And he created something that endured for so long. I think actually when the movie came out was when the last Barnum and Bailey circus, like, closed down in, I think, 2017. The last performance was in New York, actually, at the waterfront, where they had hosted, like, the annual thing for so many years. And I remember being, like, a little kid and watching that and wanting to, like, run away and join the circus and stuff like that. And I was just like, it's not an easy life. And yet he kind of made it work. This was like the whole thing about humbug, like genuine fakes and oddities and showing you something you couldn't see anywhere else, so you'd come back and see it again, was a very intriguing concept. I think he was the whole concept of it, I absolutely would believe that he was the person who crafted the term show business. It's like, what else are you going to call it?
Totally.
What year was it actually set in, because of the whole, like, different undertones, like the societal undertones?
I'd say late 1900, or sorry, not late 19, or probably early 19, had to be early 1900s, or either late 1800s, early 1900s, because I'm trying to think when Jenny Lind was getting really well known. They may have futzed with the timeline a little bit too. And I do know that, I mean, the whole Jenny Lind partnership with P.T. Barnum was a thing, but they did not part ways because of a scandal in her morals clause. She actually threatened to sue him for something like the at the time equivalent of, like, mental distress, or basically she basically said he was over promoting her and working her too hard. The whole thing about the 1 show versus 2 shows a night thing, they ended up making a compromise where she did 2 shows a night, one night of the performance that they were at, whatever, and then the other night she only performed once a night, and she was getting exhausted by this constant. I mean, he was a master promoter, but, like, very much a driver as far as, like, do this, go, and she was getting worn out and exhausted. She's used to very regimented, opera houses and stuff like that and command performances, but not, like, a touring schedule that was like kind of wearing her out, and he kept pushing for more and more and more, and eventually she's like, okay, knock it off, I'm going home, I don't want to do this anymore, you are driving me crazy. And like, you know, some are like, you know, kind of like almost like an impresario that we would have nowadays, but yeah, he basically pushed her too hard and she had to quit. It was not a like scandal thing at the time, aside from him pushing a little bit too far and building stuff up that he sometimes could not deliver on. But yeah, they took a lot of artistic liberties with this movie. It's like, guys, this is, yes, it really is original musical, great. Get originality out there. Everything does not have to be based on an IP, but maybe consider that these are real people with like the guy's life is fascinating enough. There are literally dozens of biographies written on this man. He had a life, however short it was, to like fill books. And I don't know that this is necessarily doing him wrong, but it's certainly not necessarily doing him right. It's an intriguing take, but it's like,
I haven't looked it up myself, so I can't say like confirming stuff. But I remember hearing a lot when it came out that a lot of people were upset with the depiction of him in the movie because they pictured him so good and that he was much worse than
he was a dick.
Than he comes off.
Yeah. the P and the T definitely could have been used for other things. We'll go with that, like, you know, tyrant and other words that rhyme with that. So yeah, no, he like I said, he was very much a driver, and sometimes that was a slave driver. He was very much crack the whip, he was very much about that whole building castles in the air thing. And the problem with that, it is really hard to get people off the ground to get up there. And if there isn't something for them to see, if you manage to get them up there, they are mad and will demand their money back. And that was another problem. He had a really bad tendency to be very fanciful and imaginative, which is a good thing. But if you can't deliver on your promises, he had stuff that was so bad, he had to bill them as genuine fakes, because it doesn't matter how good of a salesman you are, nobody could make anyone believe the stuff that he came up with sometimes. I find it funny. It's like you had things that people were willing to believe and things that they were not, and the stuff that they were not, he's like, okay, great, I've coined the term show business, I'll coin the term, it's a genuine fake, and you ain't gonna see anything anywhere else. It's like, it's a genuine fake. It's like, okay, sir, you do you.
So what else, Petra and Heather, did you guys think of reading the script without knowing the movie? What'd you think of it?
Heather?
One thing, he was a liar. At least they portrayed him that way, because he had not heard Jenny sing when he hired her. And the way they portrayed it in the movie was he was pleasantly surprised by how beautiful her voice was when he was off stage listening to her for the first time. And yet when he introduces her, he said that he heard her sing. And they showed Charity in the audience being shocked that he said that he had heard her sing. So, you know, I think that's key. If he's a liar, you know, you can't trust a liar. Yeah. So I think that's an important aspect, that it wasn't hidden. It was right there in the middle of the movie.
You know what? Like, PT reminds me of the one in the script, reminds me a little bit from the dad in Big Fish, like both builders of dreams.
Yeah.
And exaggerations of stories and such.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of Oz the Great and Powerful, like that version of Oz. Like, if I'm remembering it correctly, he's like, yeah, I used to see like the flea circus, or I don't know what movie that's from. Maybe that's.
Well, the flea circus is Jurassic Park, but the Oz the Great and Powerful, he's very much a charlatan in that, yeah. And so sometimes to his detriment, again, kind of similar to that. But I don't know. I thought, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued to see the movie because I was only peripherally aware of it. I saw that the ads were everywhere. Everybody was dressing up as Zendaya, and that whole, like, you know, swoopy shot thing where she's upside down. I'm like, I mean, it's cool. And she actually practiced and worked on that. And I'm like, okay, like, you needed one more thing to be devastatingly good at. Knock it off. You're like a quintuple threat now. Back off. You've got too much stuff going on for you. You're gorgeous. You're a singer. You're an actor. You're a dancer. Back it off. Too much stuff. she just like picks up stuff randomly. She's like, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna do that. Okay, it's too much. Put some things back. But yeah, I think like again, having heard Rewrite the Stars like for the first time 20 minutes before I attempted to sing it earlier. I mean, it was close I could have gotten if I kind of wish I had spent more of the last week like brushing up on the song,
maybe
because
if you got like maybe someone cast it earlier, like a week ago, then maybe you could have done that.
Even
You know what,
brushing up on it for
Petra, you
whoever,
win.
it doesn't matter. Even brushing up on whoever and whatever I had gotten cast as, I probably would have tried to sing along anyway, just brushing up on the music at
Petra,
all.
you win.
With what?
You totally have a Grissom personality.
Told you. Ah! Okay, that's a no.
You totally win.
No meta conversations, darling. No meta conversations. They're not gonna know what we're talking about. Anyway, I will say this.
I do have a question. How did you like my beard?
I thought it was very good. That's exactly how
I literally put my hand underneath my hair and just held it up like this.
Yeah, it worked.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
Go with what you got. Go with what you got.
It's sort of like, it reminded me of what I did in college once for Movember. I literally found a fake mustache and I've got a picture of me wearing that somewhere.
There you go.
Fun.
Yeah.
Tom Thumb.
Go to Vicky.
Tom Thumb. They say he's 11 in the script, but in the movie, there's no way. If anything, he was double that. He was at least 22. You know, like,
probably.
So that's a huge change.
Yeah, in the script, it did say though, like the same thing that kept him short also made him look older.
Yeah, there are two common forms of dwarfism, not counting like stuff like primordial, but there is achondroplasia and pseudochondroplasia. So achondroplasia is kind of what you think of with the traditional, the larger head, like slightly extended arms and stuff like that. It has a tendency to have more of an aging effect. Pseudochondroplasias basically look like miniature humans. So they're generally more accepted because they just look like very tiny people as opposed to little people or people with achondroplastic dwarfism. And it's actually kind of weird because you'd figure they're both smaller versions of people. They're people. They're absolutely people. I'm not saying they're not. Don't hashtag cancel, but I did find it interesting that the two are even pseudos are, as they're sometimes referred to, they kind of get treated with a little bit more respect sometimes than the thing. One thing I do know, if the guy that played, I may actually be confused about which one it was, but I was about to say something about casting, but don't worry about it. No, I will say that I think the script was actually really well done, but yeah, occasionally in dwarfism, you will have them, something about I think it's the chromosome that it has to do with, is it actually does have an aging effect. So they will look older. They tend to look the same age past a certain point for a very long time. But yeah, they do tend to look a little bit older. Like, I'm still kind of mind blown that Warwick Davis was like not even 20 or something when he did Willow, and he does not look 20.
That's why he can still do it. Like, it's the new one that's coming out. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's just now starting to look a little bit older than you'd think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does have an aging effect, but not maybe not to that degree. So I'd be curious to see who did it. So
yeah. I thought it was funny, like in the script, knowing that he was 11, like you're saying, Vicky, that at the end he's like, buy me a drink and we'll call it even at 11.
And something my husband noticed, the jumping of time, it was hard to tell how much time went by. You'd go to the next scene and it's like, how old are the girls now? How much time went by? Yeah.
And in the script, they make it a little more clear. They say how much time had passed, or they say what age they are, which in the script, they say one's 15 or a teenager. And I don't remember one ever getting that old in the movie.
Yeah. No, she didn't get that old.
To be fair, time jumps in movies with kids is not always the easiest. So like in The King's Speech, I'm like, I remember watching it, and the one thing that kept sticking, aside from like historical inaccuracies that I knew about, I'm looking at it and going like, okay, the girls that are playing them are the same actresses, and this is like 9 years. There is no way those kids are 9 years older. They're the same kids. I'm like, no. No, this is like going from the 30s to the 40s. This is very clearly going, guys, no.
Well, they did the same thing. They did the same thing in Harry Potter, right? They aged the main actors up in the end of the Deathly Hallows so they could play the older adults in the end scene.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
You should watch more movies.
Oh, I've watched those, all of them.
Well, didn't you
And
see the
listen
end
to the
scene in
books.
the Deathly Hallows where they take their children to?
Well, they did a good job to me. I didn't know about aging up, or I wouldn't have known that they needed to be aged up or not, or I wasn't paying attention.
Well, they made the main
Originally
actors look
terrible
older, like so they could
CGI.
look like parents.
And prosthetics.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I like in This Is Us how they do that with Mandy Moore and make her look younger and then older, and like it's impressive. So, all
The whole
right.
thing with aging anybody in movies, it's always interesting. It's like, if they're younger, are they making them look older? If they're older, are they making them look younger? And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
which
they use
way are
CGI.
you going? How believable is it too? Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's because originally they had prosthetics on all the kids playing the, and it's like, it's A, not believable, and 2, weirdly grotesque. They actually have like a test shots that you can find floating around the internet, and I'm like, it is unsettling. And also they made Harry way too old. I'm like, no. But I think the CGI, the slight, subtle practical effects and makeup and stuff, I think worked much better. I would actually totally buy that they're middle-aged with, like, 10-year-olds.
Well, no. I'm talking about how they used CGI in Rogue One to have Princess Leia.
Oh, no. Okay, now we're getting into 2 things. 1, Uncanny Valley, and 2, resurrecting dead actors. And that's a conversation for another night, because they did the same thing with Peter Cushing. And yeah, I just I don't know how to feel about that. We're now moving into, like, there's a James Dean movie that's been on pause for off and on for a couple of years, where they're saying they're gonna, like, resurrect him using, it's like, okay, doing it for like 5 seconds in an ad that they did a couple of years ago is one thing. Doing an entire movie, I don't care if his family says they're okay with it, it's just weird. It's like, we are getting to the point where this is borderline turning into Simone. It's like, we're not going to need real actors anymore after a while, which is really weird. And it's
You
like,
still
okay,
will, and you still want it, because I mean, unless things change a lot, because the amount of time and money for that to get that to look right, so much more time and money than a real actor.
well, it is, and they're still not going to completely get out of the Uncanny Valley. They haven't managed it. I mean, you can do a lot with de-aging where it looks really good. I'm looking at, like, Nick Fury in the Captain Marvel movie. I absolutely buy that Samuel L. Jackson is, I think he was like in his 70s in real life. He's in his 70s, and he looks phenomenal as the young Nick Fury. I'm like, I totally buy that man is at least 15 to 20 years younger than he is in, like, any of the other Avengers movies. But I'm like, I don't know. We're getting off topic.
Well, here's the thing, though. They used dead actors' voices in an episode of Star Trek Prodigy, and they did a very good job of it.
Oh, no. I'm not saying it can't be done and it can't be done well, but it's like, okay, we're in a weird way, this does kind of tie in, because we're getting into something that I think P.T. Barnum would probably be very intrigued by, which is the resurrection of dead actors, and, like, somehow using a literal magic box to make something that is dead. Oh God,
now you're getting into Futurama.
No, I know, but it's like, it's weird because, I don't know, they already have what they referred to somewhat unsettlingly, although I know it's a informal term. They refer to it as a stable. It's like, you have a stable of actors that you are motion capturing, creating libraries of voices, facial expressions, clips of motion and sound and moving and everything like that you are planning to use and archive in case something happens to them and you need to recreate them for something.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to do this to everybody in the world eventually. It's like, you're not even going to need actors.
I think some
That's right. In
actors
Futurama, they have, like, actors heads in floating jars.
No, I'm familiar. I'm not, but again, that's like, you download the personality onto, like, a blank bot. That's also creepy. But it's like, this is somewhere even beyond that. It's like, this isn't like their consciousness. This is just their likeness, but it's like, where are we going between personality and person, image and, artist, art versus
what is
artist?
That?
It's weird.
Angelina, what is that?
Bender. I like how it kind of was used in the little bits in Star Wars to connect old movies and make them work. Like just a little bit of Peter Cushing and
It's
like
not Bender Silver.
and Mandalorian with like Luke in it just for that
Amazing.
moment.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
connect
it
things.
can be used well. It can be used with purpose. I actually have only one. I have 2 issues. Okay, I have 3 issues about Rogue One, and we're getting wildly off topic. I'm sorry about that. Number 1, not nearly enough Mads Mikkelsen, and spoilers, they kill him off. That is my daddy. That's not fair. Number 2, they spent way too much time and brought it right up to the line of New Hope. I'm like,
I love
you
that.
could have stopped this earlier and just had this be they're going to get to her, and that's fine. You could have had the actress, you could have had a double in the outfit from behind, and I think that would have been fine. Have the hand taking the thing, and that would have been fine. You instead took it farther than you needed to.
I love that the movies connect that tightly and overlap. And the thing with Darth Vader at the end.
You want to know why? And I realized George Lucas did not have this much stuff outlined when he did the first movie. I know this. If he did, we wouldn't have had that very awkward kiss between the future siblings in the other movie. I'm just saying, I know he didn't plan on this being this huge thing.
No.
I still love that he had a bet with Steven Spielberg at the time, because he went over and looked at his set and all the stuff for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and he's like, okay, your movie is absolutely going to blow mine out of the water. And they made a bet that whoever's movie made more money had to write a check to the other one for a percentage of it. And Steven Spielberg, I swear, George Lucas has to write giant like block letter expletives in the check line, because yes, Close Encounters made a very respectable like $300 something million when it came out. Star Wars is in the billions.
Jacob, let's do Star Wars and make me Princess Leia. I've got the bloody hair.
And they talk about some of that stuff. There's a new ILM thing on Disney Plus. I haven't watched it yet, but everyone's saying how good it is, and they talk about that thing you just mentioned, Petra.
Okay.
If we do, Heather, that'd be great.
Let's see.
But all right.
But in the meantime,
anything else about this movie?
Anything about this? Yeah, well, let's get back on topic. Thank you so much for stirring that back. Let's see.
Vicky?
Good. I think we're tired.
Yeah. But that's fun. Lots of times we do get off topic, but there's still interesting stuff about movie making.
Definitely.
Yes, it's very interesting.
One random thing, and it's somewhat related, but only because they mentioned Chang and Aang. They were actually conjoined Siamese twins, and that was a real thing. And I don't remember which one died first, but he died of what they later discovered was a brain clot. And his brother died like 3 hours later.
Wow.
And whether it was just proof of their connection, or like weird shock, or like, oh my God, half of my body is dead and I have lost my closest friend in the world, whatever it was. Yeah, died 3 hours apart. Interesting little random piece of trivia. So.
And that's another role. I don't remember seeing that in the movie at all. Like maybe it was in the background or hinted at or something, but I missed it.
What's that?
The Siamese twins in the movie.
Oh no, Chang and Aang, the 2 characters that Heather kept playing, they're the famous Siamese twins. They mentioned it like
I'm saying in the movie itself. I was doing the casting review, so I might not have seen it.
Okay. They were in the movie.
Well,
okay, you saw
they
it.
are? Okay. There you go.
Good fact to bring up, Petra. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else?
So I'm gonna go watch the movie at some point. I will go ahead and watch it now.
It's on Disney Plus now if you have that.
I am intrigued. So yes. Well, this was fun. Thank you for having me. And this was,
fun.
I enjoyed myself.
Yes, the circus was very fun.
It was.
All right, everyone. Then good night.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us for our circus. We all hope you had fun.
Oh, and thank you for giving us our place to, in a sense, you're our PT, Barnum, and you've given us oddities a place to show what we can do.
Here's to being oddities.
Yes.
Here's being oddities. I love it.
And the found family of freaks that we are. Fabulous freaks, though.
Here's to being fabulous freaks.
Yes.
We are a family, yes.
Yes.
Good night.
Good dream.